Hey everybody, welcome back to Movies, Music, and Mayhem. I am your host, Rachel Silvestrini. This week I have a very special guest. This is somebody that I've wanted to get to know for a very long time. She's just like the coolest kid in school. And I'm so happy that we get to sit down and talk. Guys, it is the one and only, the badass bruja herself, Miss Dorina. I wish I had like sound effects to be like, but I'm broke, so fuck it.
No. Thank you for having me, lady. It's so cool to just do this, especially after finishing a 2-hour political show. I'm very happy to be here with my my rum, and I just took an edible, so let's have fun. Thanks for having me.
Fucking A, yeah. I got some almond tequila, so.
Ooh, salud. Salud to you and the audience.
Everybody likes to have a good time here, so, you know, fuck it. Oh, hi, Brandy. Love you guys.
What up, Brandy?
Just real quick, if anybody has any questions they want to throw in, the stream link or the StreamYard link, Streamlab. I don't know anymore. Fuck it. One sip of tequila and I'm done for.
More tequila.
That's why I like. So have you ever heard the country song "Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off"?
Oh no, but that sounds like I feel like I would like that.
Yeah, it literally chronicles this guy's girlfriend like throughout an evening of her drinking about like how she loses her contact in the sink, and then she has to like by the end of it she's like being escorted from the restaurant like with a tablecloth around her. I'm like, wow, I did not know I drank with Big and Rich.
I mean, but I feel like that's how a lot of country music is, though. Switchblade and Bruja. I'm scared and excited at the same time. You're Jesse Spano, Chris. Yeah, no, I feel like most country lyrics are always telling like a weird story about like, oh, my wife left me, or like it's like, or I got too drunk, and it's a fascinating genre.
I lived in Nashville for about a year and a half, and I will tell you that town is country songs brought to life. It is very interesting. But there's that old joke about like, what do you get when you play a country song backwards?
What is it?
He gets his truck back, his wife comes back, and his dog returns.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It's so weird. But speaking of music, what are some of your favorite artists?
Oh man, are you serious? How much time do we have? How long is the show?
Fuck it, until we're too stoned or drunk to hang on.
I mean, look, it's music is my life. I mean, I know this space, like we've all become friends because of our passion for movies, but music is like my jam. Like I'd much like if I had to pick like, oh, you can only listen to music or watch movies for the rest of your lives, I would pick listen to music. I love movies, but music is like my favorite part of movies too. So I grew up with a really versatile music loving family. My mom, I'm pretty sure I was listening like in her belly when she was pregnant with me. I was listening to like the Beatles and classic rock and then classical music. So that's kind of what she fed me. And then my older brother in the 80s, when I grew up with him, it was all like new wave, like, you know, Depeche Mode, The Cure, like the Smiths, which was really popular, weirdly, in Mexico where I grew up. So it's like, that's my basics, right? Like classic rock, classical music, and then like 80s sort of new wave goth type bands. And then when I got older and as a teenager, and when I started like listening to my own shit, that's when that's when I got super into like alternative rock in the 90s. So my mom's religion is the Beatles. Like my group, my Lennon and McCartney are Johnny Greenwood and Tom York. Like I was obsessed with Radiohead in high school. Like I listened to OK Computer like nonstop. I've seen them in concert, you know, also by themselves as soloists. Like that's something that was big. Radiohead, Fiona Apple, and then I got super into EDM. So like, but not like the shit that you like people listen to now, like Skrillex and that type of stuff. I'm not into dubstep.
His name is Sunny, and he was the lead singer of a terrible punk band. Guys, look it up. I'm just saying.
Really?
Yeah, Skrillex. Yeah, when he first came on the scene, I was like, "Wait, that's Sunny." Like,
I didn't know that.
It's the boy that hides from sunlight on Warped Tour.
That's so funny. Yeah. No, so yeah, that I'm not into that as much. I'm more into like 90s trip hop, like, or 90s electronica, like Chemical Brothers, like Air, what's it called? Aphex Twin, like that type of shit, Massive Attack, like, and then nowadays I listen to all of that, but I listen to a lot of electronic music, like probably shit that people are like, what is that? But it's like a lot of French music, like French EDM, like Polo and Pan, and like several like DJs from all over the place. I can talk to you about anything and everything except reggaeton and like top 40 country. I'm just not into that shit. Oh, and then metal too is a huge one that I discovered as an adult.
So are we talking like the grandfathers of metal, like Metallica, or are we talking like 80s metal? Because like, let's be honest, hair metal is probably the best thing we've ever been given musically. Because
you love it. Oh no. I mean, I'm all like hair metal, like I'm okay with it. Like I mean, I definitely grew up listening to like Bon Jovi and shit like that. I just wasn't as into it as like Black Sabbath, right? Like that was like Black Sabbath was my jam, and definitely Metallica. And then as I got older, I went to see Slayer for the first time, and I fucking died. And then like newer bands like Meshuggah, or like super crazy like hardcore like stuff that I'm like, I just here to release all the rage at these concerts.
I went to a Meshuggah concert at the House of Blues in Boston, because a friend of mine is a bass teacher at Berklee School of Music, and he's like really good friends with like every metal bassist ever. And so I was in town on a day off from one of my tours, and he was like, "Hey, you want to go to see Meshuggah?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I do."
Weren't they incredible? Like
good.
It's so crazy. And I think even it's funny because comedian Bill Burr was at the same show I was at, and I saw him like talk about it later. And he was just saying, he's like, even if you aren't super into that type of music or even that type of metal, it's just so crazy to see what these musicians do live. Like it's very even for somebody that studied music her whole life, like I was trying to figure out, I was like, they're doing weird syncopation, like almost jazz timing, like the drummer, like they're freaks. They're really, really talented.
Honestly, I think that metal musicians are some of the most talented on the face of the planet. They just, like you said, they do crazy stuff. Like they'll have a jazz drum, they'll have like a country guitar, like some sort of like reggaeton bass line, and like somehow it all comes together, and then everything, when you hear it live especially, like it just initiates such a primal response,
right?
And it's so fantastic.
Well, it's crazy how it like, I like EDM and stuff like that because I love dancing, right? But with metal live especially, just there's this energy around you that everybody is like, either banging their heads or doing the metal, like whatever it is, like this collective like release of the daily rage and stress, and because you just have these people shredding, right? Yeah. So and then sometimes you have fire, like Slayer always has fire. That's fun.
Yeah. We do have a Streamlab from Movie Fanobi. Hi, Steve. Says, look at these fabulous ladies. Let's hope Dorina reminds Rachel about her dance music YouTube parties. Thank you both for doing what you do. You're intelligent, beautiful, kick-ass women. Be safe, spread love, Steve. And then he threw in another and said, by the way, Dorina, love the backdrop broadcast set you've been using. Cool and vibrant.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Movie Fanobi, always good to see you. That's awesome. I've been, I got a little good setup the last few months that I started. Got my Catwoman, Batman Returns area, and my like stop fascism sticker because I can't stop talking about that. So, trying.
About the sticker design or the actual thought behind it?
No, just that. Yeah, no, people. I'm sure people are so over me talking about how we must, how I'm an anarchist and we must destroy corruption in the government and fascism and stuff. I talk about it too much.
I mean, it's not too much until people have put it into action and it's working. Then you can stop.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah. That's why I'm doing it. So there you go.
Well, I went on I don't know if you would consider it EDM, but I literally did one. I called it the DJ tour. And it was, do you remember Rusko and Crystal Castles?
Oh, yeah.
I was on, they did a hard summer tour. They used to have a summer festival every year in a field right around Dodger Stadium in
Mhm.
LA, and I worked that for a little bit. But I also went on the tour, and I got to tour with Rusko and Crystal Castles, and oh my god, I can never remember his DJ name. Oh, Destructo was out,
Mhm.
and it was one of the
Okay.
most interesting experiences I've ever had. I'm like, this is not the music that I listen to like on purpose, but it was so much fun because like
Isn't that
everybody,
great though?
yeah, nobody comes to the merch booth during those shows. Everybody's dancing, and so I get to stand
No.
in my merch booth and dance by myself. And kids that make, kids are on their way to the bathroom and make fun of me, and it's fun.
But that's what's so I love people watching at concerts. Like when people are happy and they're dancing, oh, it's like there's nothing like that. That's probably the thing I miss most about being out in public is that like collective energy of everybody. Just it's almost becomes like a weird animalistic, like tribalistic thing where you're just like, this is we're all here. It doesn't matter where you're from, who
Yeah.
you fucking voted for. Like we're just here to dance. And like this is like my favorite part of humanity is listening to music and dancing with other humans that
Yeah,
I don't know, especially.
well, they say that I know they've done studies with like theater and like Broadway shows and stuff like that where they've literally hooked up entire audiences with heart monitors, and at a certain point during the show, everybody's heartbeat starts beating at the same time at the same rhythm because you're syncopated into the show. And I think that that's 100% true when it comes to live music. Like I refer to concerts as group therapy because let's be honest,
Totally.
that shit
For
is
sure.
real. I mean,
Yeah.
try going to see Dashboard Confessional and not live out your like 16-year-old like life, like you just get that out.
Craving infidelities. Do you have like well, first of all, I want to know because I didn't know that you just worked Warp Tour for years. I just want to know how you got into like we should exchange music industry stories.
Oh, for
But
sure.
but also like do you have like a favorite or at least like a few favorite concerts that you can think of that you're like this is like a one in a lifetime experience that like I hope I get again? Any genre.
I mean, my very first like real concert, like where you paid tickets to go see like an arena, it was a professional tour, it wasn't just like, hey, my band's playing down the street.
Yeah.
It was Billy Joel and Elton John on the Face to Face
Oh,
tour, and I
hell
was
yeah.
14 years old. It was 3.5 hours long. We missed the first like 15 minutes because they were free tickets given to us on a rush from my neighbor. And it was the most amazing thing. And literally at that moment, I was like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Like, I want to be involved in making as many people happy at the same time. Like, I want to be a part of that. So I started going to concerts in San Francisco and making friends with the bands and the venue owners. And then I got, I one night I got a call from the owner of Slim's in San Francisco, and they were like, hey, one of the band's merch guys is really, really sick. Can you come up and fill in for them? And I was like, sure. So I came up, and they're like, you don't need to like do anything. You need to like sell or keep track of anything. Just watch the table, and we'll come back at the end of the show. And I'm like, great. And then people would come up and I would talk to them, and I knew who the band was. And so we were schmoozing, and then they came back at the end of the night, and I had sold every single piece of merchandise for them.
And you're
And
like, hell yeah, hire me again.
Well, they were a little upset, and I understand now why, because they didn't have anything for the next night in LA.
Oh.
So
you're like proud of yourself, and then you're also like, oh, I didn't realize LA was next.
I was like, sorry, I didn't realize this was everything you had. You literally just like, there were like shirts and boxes organized and like CDs and stuff, and I literally sold everything that was there. They're like, that's all we had for the rest of California. And I'm like, well, you're an idiot. But you're welcome for the $5,000 I just gave you. So
yeah, exactly. That's true.
I was like, you're going to be in LA. You can rush an order. It's fine. What else? There's been some really amazing concerts I've been to, but I think that first one, like it's the push of the snowball off the hill. It's what started everything.
Like your love for that, just being at concerts and like even like trying to find more music and new bands and shit like that.
Yeah, it's infectious. And it's my drug. Like it's why I love touring with Broadway shows. Like people are people are happiest, I think, when they're being entertained.
Mm-hmm. Completely. Because that's the one time you forget about shit. It's the one time. Yeah. It's the one time, whether you're at a Broadway show, whether you're at the movies, whether you're at a concert, it's like one of the few times that we all get to just forget about our life and like the stupid shit we have to deal with every day. And like, just especially lately, just seeing so much like depressing news, obviously, especially this year, right? With the pandemic, it's like, yeah, that's something that we need as humans, like not just entertainment, but like being with other people and being entertained collectively.
Yeah. Do you remember your first concert?
I mean, it had to be in Mexico because I was there till I was 18. So I didn't move to the States until I was an adult. So I'm from Mexicali, which is a border town with California, kind of close to Arizona, actually. And so we didn't have a lot of like big acts go there. Like this band from the 80s called Information Society. If anybody out there knows them, like they were there when I was a kid, which is crazy. Like it's like one of the few like bands that went there. But so it's probably a Spanish rock band. Another big thing that I grew up with was Spanish rock band, and by that I mean like rock bands that perform in Spanish. So like it can be from Mexico, it can be from South America, from Spain, it doesn't matter. And so Latino and Spanish, basically rock bands. And Enanitos Verdes, which translates to Little Green Men, are this band from Argentina that I probably have seen like 20 times in my life. And they were the first band I saw in Mexicali with like my mom and her best friend, and my brother had already gone to college. And so they're just so much fun. Like they're like, if you check them out, I should probably make more playlists on Spotify and do like a Spanish rock playlist, because there's so much good music out there that's not in English that I think people are missing out on. But yeah, Enanitos Verdes was my first one.
I definitely think that there's so much music that gets overlooked just because it's not in English. Like I remember watching A Simple Favor for the first time and just being like, dude, this soundtrack fucking rocks. Right. Like I really dove into like the whole like French New Wave and like music of that's like I went down a massive rabbit hole on that one for like a good 2 or 3 months. Like I thought I could speak French. I can't at all. Not a word. Like no.
You could say like le baguette. Like,
I can
that's
say
like a French word.
I can say all of the words that they say in Beauty and the Beast in French. That's it.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Well, when you tour with that show for 5 years, you never forget it.
That's true. Yeah, no, but so many good ones. I miss concerts so much. It's like the one like first world problem thing that I miss, right? Like I obviously miss my family and my friends. Like it's really hard that we don't get to see each other. Like that's been probably the hardest thing for everybody this past year. But like just out of the joys of going out in public, like just being at concerts and dancing, I'm like, I cannot wait to do that.
Yeah, I would give up being able to sit outside at a bar patio with a beer with my friends. I would give that up to go to a concert.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yeah. What was the last one you went to?
Oh, Jesus. What is today? Yesterday was last month?
Right. Well, Rachel, it's actually been a year since the pandemic started. And I think we're all like, what the fuck? We're in the twilight zone. Salud, kids.
Yeah, guys, it's been congratulations for everybody making it through with our heads still on our shoulders. Right.
Because some of us did not make it. So if you're still here, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's been rough. It's definitely given me confidence. If the zombie apocalypse ever does happen, I know I can survive.
Right.
Like, I'm like, I know where my machete is. It's fine. I know how to board up a window, and I know I can definitely survive in my own room by myself. So it's fine.
Yeah, totally. I'm just glad I'm in California and I have edibles.
Yeah,
because just like for the anxiety and all the things, I'll totally fight a zombie while stoned. I'm sure I could do it. Yeah. They're slow, so it's fine.
Right? And I mean, like, always keep a spliff around just so you can, like, smoke them out. And who knows? It might affect them. They might get slower. They might just, like, sit down and stop and contemplate.
Maybe that'll replace Exactly. That'll totally just have them sit and like not even think about brains.
Yeah.
Like they won't even or unless it actually gives them the munchies, then that would be a problem.
Yeah. We'll just give them sativa, not indica. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Totally.
No, that reminds me, I'm running low on my edibles.
Wait, do you remember the last concert you went to?
Last concert? I have no idea. I mean, I was trying to get to concerts when I was still living in LA, and they got canceled like right before I was supposed to go out. And I had a bunch of concerts lined up for like the fall and winter of 2019, but then I got blessed with a tour with John Leguizamo.
That's where you gave me, Rachel was nice enough to give me really cool merch from that.
Yeah, it was a blast. I was like, I gotta grab one of these for Dorina. You got the thing in the book, right?
Yeah, it was his show, Latin History for Morons, right?
Yeah, it was
so good.
It's so fucking great. I'm so sad that we stopped. I literally I need to text him tomorrow and be like, hey, so you're writing something while we're down, right? And then we're just gonna tour that when we can, because I want, like, he's literally the most amazing man I've ever been able to tour with. Like we would hang out at the hotel bars afterwards, like, and just talk about movies and like politics and stuff and everything that's going on. Like we just, like, towards the end of the tour, we were just harassing the fuck out of each other. It was so much fun. I absolutely love and adore him.
Well, I just feel like he's one of those actors that's been around for so long, and I feel like he should be more famous. Like I feel like he should be, or more, I don't know, like he's so talented, and I love his one-man show. He did such a good job with Latin History for Morons, and because it's like really educational but also hilarious.
Yeah.
But I even remember just as a kid, like not just in like, you know, watching him in Romeo plus Juliet, or but like even fucking, what is it, Super Mario Brothers, that horrible movie. But I still like remember enjoying watching him and Bob Hoskins, because they're just really talented actors. Like sometimes it doesn't matter if you're watching a shit movie, like you just know when the actor's good, right? Like, and obviously Moulin Rouge, like I think he should be like regarded as like one of the coolest actors around.
He really is. And when because we performed when I joined the tour, they were in LA at the Amundsen for like a 7 or 8 week sit down, which was, I think, when you saw it. And one of the nights, I'm literally just
by the way, thanks to Alex Marzonia, who took me.
Yeah. Wait. Oh yeah, because he's got season tickets for that. He actually asked me, he was like, hey, do you want to go that? And I'm like, I think I'm going to be working that show soon. So like, give me a second. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm working.
Well, I'm glad you couldn't go, because then I was able to go.
I mean, it would have been selfish, because I've already, like, I had worked that show when it was on Broadway, because he did like 6 months on Broadway, and I got to work there for a week over Thanksgiving, which was really funny, because like I was the merchandise company that I worked for on an American in Paris tour does the same merchandise for John. And so I had a break from my tour for Thanksgiving. I went to New York, worked that show, and I was telling him about, you know, how I have to leave after only a week. And so like then I hadn't seen him since then until I was working the show in LA. And I'm walking backstage, and I wanted to introduce myself to him. I was like, hi, I just want to let you know, my name is Rachel. I'm running your merchandise from now on. I'm going on tour with you. So, you know, if you have any questions or any needs, because like it's LA, and there were a ton of people, like actors and directors and like producers coming in, like literally just coming in through the front door and seeing the show. Like Jodie Foster came in, and I was like, that's fucking Jodie Foster. And so I was like, if you need anything, you know, have Kenneth let me know, but I'm here for you. If you need anything, let me know. And he goes, you've worked for me before. And I was like, yeah. How do you remember that? Like, you meet 1,000 people a day. And he goes, Sexaholic, which was one of his other one-man shows. And I was like, I'm sorry, what did you call me? And he just started laughing. I was like, no, I worked this show on Broadway. It's fine.
Oh, that's funny.
He's like,
well, because that's what's so cool about people like that, because I feel like, you know, everybody can get so kind of, especially in this country, and since I just came from my politics show, there's this like weird idolization of people, like the culture of like idolizing like really like celebrity, culture, like really famous people, like how, if Robert Downey Jr. played Iron Man, he's like a god to so many people, right? Yeah. But then if you actually get to know these people, like a lot of them are pretty fucking weird, like crazy, because they've just been in an environment of, a lot of crazy entertainment industry bullshit of like that. The entertainment industry is some shit. like you see all the things and it doesn't work like normal companies, and there's people that around these actors and celebrities that like treat them all weird, and they become crazy because of it, like yesing them. Like if you see some of these actors like writers and like what they're requesting for their dressing rooms, like it's fucking ridiculous. Like it's just, there's a lot of like diva behavior because of it. So it's really cool when you like meet somebody like a John Leguizamo that's just chill, and actually like, because even with non-celebrities, like when you meet somebody and they actually get to know you, like, or they want to know you, or they ask you questions about yourself, like that's like, I feel like that's somebody that I find really interesting if a person's like that, right? Yeah. Versus like somebody that's just like all about themselves and just fucking weird narcissism shit. So hell yeah, I'm so glad he's cool.
Yeah, it takes a very conscious effort as a celebrity, I think, to not let yourself be affected by the yes man culture that you just automatically slip into, because nobody wants to piss you off. And I think that's why, like I met, God, why do I always forget his name? Joe Manganiello.
Manganiello. Yeah, he's great.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
But this was before he married Vergara, and he had at the time like this really fucking beautiful like 25-year-old girlfriend at Warped Tour. Apparently he's really good friends with Goldfinger, and they were performing. Okay. And so he was like, I had gone to the stage because like the band after them was coming on, and I was really good friends with them. So I'm there, and all of a sudden I see Joe backstage, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Joe. Like, it's Joe. So like his girlfriend was standing there, and she's like this tiny, young, like model, thin, gorgeous girl. And I'm like, you look so hungry. Like she just had that look in her eyes. And I'm like, you need to go to catering and like go get food. She left to go to the bathroom. And I went up to talk to him, and I was like, hey, I just want to let you know, my name's Rachel. I'm a huge fan. And he goes, oh, you're a big fan of what was the show he was on? Showtime, Vampires and Werewolves.
Oh yeah, True Blood.
True Blood. He's like, oh, you're a big True Blood fan. I'm like, it's okay. Like, yeah, it's fun, but I love you on How I Met Your Mother. Like, you were so perfect as Brad the bartender. Your comedic timing was always good. You were always fantastic in the background. Like, you never pulled focus, but like, I was like, you were just so massively underutilized. And he was like, thank you so much. And I'm like, yeah. And his girlfriend walks back, and she just like puts her arm around him super protectively. And I like looking me up and down, and I'm like, girl, please look at you, look at me. That is not like, I'm not trying to steal that. And I was like, by the way, we've all seen him naked. High five. And he blushed. She high fived me. We had a really good time. We ended up going back to the tour bus and drinking vodka together. It was fantastic.
That's awesome.
You just got to bust people's balls. Like nobody is outside of that. Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, when somebody's acting also, like that's the one, like, I mean, it seems like you've been involved in some form of entertainment industry for a while now. Like, I mean, I think I moved here, I think, I moved to San Diego for college, and then I moved here for work to LA. And I think it was like 2005 around there when I got like my first job in the music industry. And I work for this artist management firm. And like, it's just so weird to think about how long I've been in it, especially music is like always like the worst one out of all the entertainment industry ones. Like you meet amazing people. Like I fucking love roadies. Like I love, tour managers. Like there's some people that you meet that are like, you're never going to forget. And it's really cool. But there's also like, shitty record executives and like, those like higher up type people in record labels and stuff. And it's just a lot of gross shit that you see. So it's nice when it's kind of like going to a Comic-Con party and everybody's being douchey, and then you find like a couple of people that are just like eating the food at the buffet. You're like, hell yeah, these are my people, Yeah.
You're like, I'll create a distraction. You just steal the entire plate, and I'll meet you outside on the balcony.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I love that. So
like the celebrities at Comic-Con don't eat the food. So then I'm always like at the buffet table.
Well, that's because they get fed throughout the day, and we're running
Yeah.
around like crazy and like having to save seats, and like nobody eats, and it's just your blood sugar gets too low, and then you're like, oh my God, there's food and I can eat. That's fine. No one's gonna be angry if I have like some soy sauce dripping out of the corner of my mouth. Who cares?
Right. Exactly.
So did you go to a lot of shows in LA when you moved there?
Well, at first, not because I was like trying to make money, like I didn't get to like do all the shit I wanted to do until my 30s, really. Because in my 20s, I was just working all the time for like not great pay, and so when I was in my 20s, I think, and then I moved around a couple of times within the music industry, and then I even ended up what's it called? Like transitioning to tech. So that's how I ended up at Google. And so in between that, I bartended and I composed a film score. So like I was not making that much money. Like I didn't make any money until after I was at Google, and I'm still like fucking paying my credit card bills. I was just able to actually like, oh, I'm going to like actually buy tickets for an expensive concert like U2 or Nine Inch Nails or like Black Sabbath or Slayer, like shit that like you need to spend like a couple $100, you know, like concerts got fucking expensive. So
Yeah.
so much. So I'm pretty sure like the last couple of years, most of my money went to concerts. Like before the pandemic, I saw so many concerts. Like I've seen so many people now, and I'm so lucky and blessed that I've done that. But like it took me a bit. Like I wasn't doing a lot in my 20s. So, but now that I'm almost 40, I can say that like I've seen Paul McCartney. You know, I've seen Radiohead. I've seen what's it called? Simon and Garfunkel, like fucking like, you know, like classic, like old school people, you know, and I've also gone to like so many amazing DJ concerts as well, right? Like Chemical Brothers, I've seen twice, and I've died when I've seen them. Like just so many amazing. Like I could talk about like just all my concert experiences for hours, but I don't want to bore you guys.
Okay, first of all, fuck them. I'm not bored. No, I mean, I think that was one of the main reasons why I loved selling merchandise for bands and like for venues, because like clubs like the Key Club, like the merchandise was set up perfectly so that like literally all I had to do was turn around and I had the perfect view to see the stage. So like while the show's going on and no one's at the merch booth, like I'm friends with the bartenders and the waitresses, so they'll bring me over a drink and I get to watch the show, and then the show ends and I sell merchandise. And then I get to go back and hang out with the band and like report numbers and make friends, and then they, you know, those bands break up and new bands form, and then I keep working for them, and it's a monster that feeds on itself. Like there were legitimately in my early 20s, I think there was like a month where I spent 5 nights a week working at the Key Club on top of school and on top of another job. It's only something you can do in your early 20s. But I got to do so many amazing shows.
Isn't that crazy though when you think about it, how like a lot of our generation, like we had to do that. We had to have like a couple of different jobs. Like our parents were in more stable jobs, but that's why people are going crazy right now in the economy. Cause like they weren't paying us enough. Like a lot of us like don't, I'm lucky I own a condo because I got married. Like we both split it. Like it's really hard to own shit. Like when you're by yourself, like it's hard when you're married, let alone when you're single or whatever. But yeah, like all my money that I like made, I just went to I'm going to spend it in experiences, and I want to go to concerts with my friends. And that's what made me happy. I never wanted stuff anyways. Like I don't care about fancy shit. So like, I know I'm literally investing in culture, and I'm just going to go to concerts in the museums, and it's fucking awesome. And I highly recommend that life.
Oh yeah. Like the most expensive thing I own, I think, is my laptop. Like, honestly, like I don't even think my car is worth what my laptop is. But like I actually added it up one year, and I spent 80% of my income on concerts and gas for concerts and parking for concerts and drinks at concerts and like a t-shirt now and then if I could convince them to let me pay. Because when you work for bands and stuff, they're like, oh, just take whatever you want. And I'm like, no, like this is your fucking, like, I know this is your livelihood. I know how much money you're making. I know what you're doing on your taxes. Like, I understand. So
totally,
it's the best. I mean, and then you have memories, and then you end up with, the amount of posters and artwork that I have from the tours that I've been on. Like I'm waiting to, like, it's the only reason I want a house, so that I can just finally put all of my posters up on the walls and get to see them. Right now they're just like, I have 4 of these.
Nice.
4 of these sections, and like this is the thinnest one, I think. But yeah, I've got so many of them. But like every now and then I'll just thumb through it and be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Kind of. That's
funny, but
I don't know if you did this. I think a lot of people do this, but I started when I was in college, and that was when I was also going to concerts like with my mom. So that's the first time I got to see Paul McCartney and U2, and just like those classic things that I'm like, I can't afford this, but my mom, I guess, is going to take me in college. And I'm like, fuck yeah. But I started saving the concert stubs.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so like I ended up with so many that like I wanted to build like a poster of it. And eventually I never did, but I still have like a huge stack of like all my favorite concerts that I've gone to.
This is full of ticket stubs, like, and set lists.
Yeah.
Like like I have like 3 of these.
But they don't make them anymore though. Like, I mean, they do, but most of the time you end up having to like print a piece of paper, or you get your little digital one, which I get because of scalpers, which is probably good that they do that. But yeah, it sucks because I'm like, I those like physical. I mean, I miss going to like Tower Records to get concert tickets, right? Like, just goddamn.
I drove all over the Bay Area one time because Dropkick Murphys had a CD release for Blackout. And when it came out, they were doing shows in San Francisco, LA, and I think probably Boston and maybe Houston. But it was like the day that the CD came out, they were doing if you bought a CD, you got a free ticket to their release show in your city. And like the tickets were divided up amongst like Tower Records or like Warehouse, like all of the places that you could buy music and stuff. And I went from store to store to store, like leaving my phone number, trying to find a ticket. And I got halfway to Oakland and had to turn around because one of the guys found a ticket underneath the register. And it was like, you don't do that anymore. Like, it was such an adventure.
Yeah. Totally. It's so weird to think about, like, just even standing in line, like now I guess for both for concerts and movies, like I'm sure most of us stood in line for like, I don't know, the Star Wars prequels, which I regret now, but I'm sure some of you didn't. So happy for you. But like, yeah, like I remember for a U2 concert to be in the pit, I stood in line for like, since that whole afternoon and since the morning. Like, I'm like, I was crazy.
Oh yeah. I met one of my closest friends. Like, we literally met because we kept seeing each other in line for the same concerts in San Francisco.
Oh yeah. Like, I love it when that happens.
Like, because I would go by myself and she was from Tracy, which is like across the East Bay. And we both drive to San Francisco, and every concert that we went to, we would see each other. And like, we just finally got to the point where like, we're like, we should just exchange numbers and figure out who's going to be in line first so we can save spots. And like, we went to skate and surf for my 19th birthday, 2 18-year-olds flying cross country, just the 2 of us, to go see a fucking 3-day festival concert in New Jersey. Like, who does that? Like, yeah, we did.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's how I literally met a girl at Comic-Con that because we always ran into each other at all the parties, and like we just had to exchange information because of that. But like that's totally happened at concerts when you're like, oh, these are my people. Look at them. They're dancing. They're not being obnoxious. Like, which is, it's more of like, I guess it's the drug crowd versus the drunk crowd sometimes, depending on what concert you go to. But yeah, like sometimes you're just, that there's people that are just to like listen to the music and chill and dance. Because there's people that fucking go to concerts to like talk, and you're like, what are you doing here? Like, or at least go to the lobby because I want to hear the music, right? So yeah.
Here are my seats. They're in the balcony. You go, I'll come on the floor so you can stop trying to have a conversation at the rail. Like, just stop. Oh God, I hated that. Or the boyfriends
I
who would
know.
like post up around their tiny girlfriends. I'm like, I will break your arms. Like, please stop. Like, if she's too small and can't handle it, she can't stand in the front. I'm sorry. Wait for their 20-year reunion tour where we're all too tired to stand in a pit and everything is seated. Just wait for that.
That's so true. That's like, it's like how it's changed to like imagine watching I don't know, like if Nine Inch Nails is still touring, like how Paul McCartney's still fucking touring, which is
Yeah.
incredible, right? So like what if Nine Inch Nails is still to that age? Like, are we all just gonna watch them in seats? Like when before we were like rocking out to them,
I guarantee there will be no mosh pit. Or it'll be like an 18 and under mosh pit. Be like, you guys are still young, your joints still work.
Yeah. We're not gonna have to call the paramedics on you, exactly.
You're not gonna pull your hip by standing up from your seat. Just something I fear.
Totally. Yeah, that's why I get stoned, because I fear aging. I'm like, all right, here we go.
Well, I mean, I spent 17 years touring between punk and metal bands and Broadway shows. 17 years. My body makes noises that it should not. To the point where whenever I go in for a massage, they're always like, what the fuck did you do to yourself? How old are you again?
Yeah. How are your ears? Mine are horrible because of it.
Mine are it depends on it they come and go, but I was very adamant about using earplugs because especially the concerts that I worked at, I think I definitely worked at more concerts than I went to. So you have to be able to hear the person in front of you when they're talking and ordering during a show. So I was very, very, very adamant about wearing earplugs.
You're so smart, because I was not until the last few years. And then I noticed, I was like, well, a little too late. So,
well, I mean, in my early 20s, I was like, put the speaker next to my head. I want to feel my body cells vibrating.
Yeah, totally. I get it. Well, that's what I did for too long. That was very dumb.
Yeah. I mean, you do what you do, but you get some great memories out of it.
Exactly. Wear earplugs, though.
Always.
If you can, wear earplug.
I mean, if the band on stage is going to wear earplugs and they only have 2 monitors pointed in their direction and you're in the crowd and you've got 19 monitors, like speakers pointing at you, like maybe plug your ears.
But also metal concerts, especially, like that's where I was like, oh yeah, you can't go to metal concerts without earplugs. Yeah. It's so loud.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, but it's loud.
Yeah. It changes your life, but you won't be able to hear for the rest of it.
Yeah. So. It'll shake your heart and your whole body and your ears.
There was one show that I went to where they had to stop the show and call the ambulance because a guy had a heart arrhythmia. Like he naturally, like he had like a weak heart valve or something like that. And the bass that he was standing he was standing next to one of the towers, and the bass affected his heart and he had an arrhythmia and passed out. So they had to like get him out. And I'm like, that like
sucks.
Why are they allowed to stand so close to the towers? Like just back them off a little bit. Like just move the barricades. It'll be fine. But I miss that so much.
I know.
Do you ever have the feeling that like, because like, you know how smells bring back memory? Like you can smell an apple pie or something. You're like, oh, I remember that 4th of July, like whatever. Sure. Do you have, because I have that with songs. Whenever I hear a song, most times I'll be like, oh my God, that was in this movie. And now I have to watch that movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, it's weird because that's the other weird thing about how much I love music. I think I was saying that I love soundtracks and I like collected soundtracks as a kid. So I completely hear you. And it is not just, I mean, I'm a big scores nerd, as you know, but it was also like, it was both, right? Like I had like Home Alone and like, whatever the fuck, all the Disney ones, right? Like I had all kinds, obviously every fantasy one out there, Star Wars, etc. But soundtracks, like where you actually get the various artists, that was like, I mean, because a lot of movies that aren't great sometimes have great soundtracks. So like, I Know What You Did Last Summer, like whatever you feel about the movie, awesome soundtrack, right? So I could like, or Cruel Intentions, fucking awesome soundtrack. There's just so many good, like, especially like 90s, 80s soundtracks, like really, really great ones. Because they don't do that as much anymore, right? Like, unless it's like a Guardians of the Galaxy type shit, but like that's budget, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really do it. I kind of miss those like various artist soundtracks from the 90s.
Yeah, dude. The 90s, I think, had some of the best soundtracks of all time. Like on one of my
Yeah.
favorites is Empire Records.
Hell
Like
yeah. I was just
I,
thinking of that. Yes.
I legit cannot listen to any song by any artist that is on that soundtrack without being like, you know what I really want to watch right now?
Totally. Yeah. What's another good one? Well, Cruel Intentions for sure had a great
Cruel Intentions
soundtrack.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
Almost Famous
Oh, hell yeah.
is
And
one of my favorite movies to begin with, but just
it's
like
so good.
the story's
You know,
fantastic. The actors are
the
great. But, like,
beginning. Oh, go ahead.
no, just like the music that like the band plays, like that Stillwater plays. Like, I don't know if did you ever buy the soundtrack for Almost Famous?
Yeah, I have that CD for sure somewhere.
Yeah, because it came with the actual soundtrack for all of the other music that was in it, but it also came with like a bootlegged LP of the band of all of the songs that the band plays from like the band was Stillwater. And it was like all of their songs, so like Fever Dog and like everything like that. Like that's all in a separate album that was like the promotional was so great. It was like duct taped to the CD. Mm-hmm. It was like somebody had just gone through like the records, like the music store and just been like taped it to the back. So it was like it was fantastic. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, Jordan, I think it's fantastic.
Totally. I see also I need to buy the Tron soundtrack. Amazing soundtrack. But the Almost Famous is great. I also love that movie. And the one of the beginning shots where Patrick Fugit's character, the enemy, where he's like, I think at the beginning, like it was shot at my university. So I was all like, oh, hey, I didn't even know that. But and it's just cool to see movies that are shot in San Diego or in Los Angeles, because those are like the two cities I've lived.
Yeah, I remember the first time I think it was Taste of Chaos tour played in San Diego at the venue where they filmed the first concert that he goes to do the interview for Cream Magazine, and like he walks down the loading ramp, and like I remember pulling up to the venue and being like, this place looks so familiar. Why do I know this place? And then like we parked and like they're like, oh, you need to go through the stage door. And I was like, okay. And then we stood at the top and I was like, oh! I was like, Jessica, we're in Almost Famous. And she's like, what? I'm like, it's the ramp. Like this is where he meets Penny Lane. Yeah. And I like had like a 10-minute freak out and she's like, you need to calm down. I'm like, I'm so happy right now. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, when it's a movie you love, it's hard not to freak out. Yeah. It's like no matter what, like I think it was a Warner Brothers tour that we were on, that we literally drove by like a scene where they shot some of Blade Runner. When being in my favorite movie, I was like freaking the fuck out. And it's just a street with like a fake, a cinema marquee, but I was like taking all these photos like an old lady, so excited. So I fucking get it. I see who said, oh, Chris Taylor, hell yeah, Batman Forever, Batman 89, Space Jam. Dude, the Batman soundtracks were amazing.
You could not
the Schumacher ones, remember too?
The which ones?
What? Oh, I was gonna say the Schumacher movies.
Oh yeah,
had fucking awesome soundtracks.
That's what I'm saying. Like you couldn't turn on MTV in the 90s without seeing "Kiss from a Rose," like on constant repeat. But
and "Hold Me, Throw Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me" by U2.
Oh my God,
love that video, that music video.
Tell me, kiss me. Oh God, they just I miss music videos, guys. Music videos need to be an art form that comes back. But Camshaft brings up one of my favorite ones that I was not aware of this movie until probably 6 or 7 years ago. I don't know. It was probably like 3 or 4 because I have no sense of time. And I was listening to John's show. I think it was Top 10 or Cinephiles. I think it was the Cinephiles. Okay. And they were talking about Streets of Fire. And I was like, what the fuck is this movie?
Hell yeah.
Legit cannot stop listening to that soundtrack. Like if it's like, it's one of those things that, like, if it pops into my head, I have to listen to it immediately, like 10 times. And then I'm like, okay, I'm fine. But you have to listen to it. It's so good. Baby Diane Lane. Oh, the movie's borderline amazing, terrible, but it's so much fun.
Well, it's just, I mean, there's certain movies from the 80s that are like bad good.
Oh yeah.
That you just, I mean, there's Miami Connection is like my favorite bad movie. There's so many like amazing bad movies out there. But yeah, no, Streets of Fire is like legit soundtrack. So
And I
good.
mean, Saul brings up a very good point. We can't talk about amazing 90s soundtracks or 90s, early 2000s without talking about The Crow.
Oh, hell yeah, Saul. Hell yeah. I mean,
Crow Cities of Angels, yes.
when I saw The Cure, I've been blessed to see them a few times. And when they played Burn, I was like, I'm dying. This is like, it was like goth, I had achieved goth nirvana. So I guess I was like in goth Vanna, you know, it was just an incredible moment. Yeah.
See, I tried to go see, I tried to go see The Cure one time, but then tour plans changed and I couldn't do it. But my best friend and I got tickets to go see Morrissey. And,
okay.
And Amanda Palmer was opening for him. And she's a massive Amanda Palmer fan. And I'm like, okay, the Smiths are amazing. So like, yeah, let's go see Morrissey. And then we got there and she had to cancel because she was pregnant and then she got Lyme disease. So she had to back out. So it was just a 2.5 hour concert of Morrissey. And about 5 minutes in, he starts playing like the police brutality videos and then like the animal videos.
Oh yeah.
We're sitting there for like 25 minutes and I'm like, Jess, I love you. And I know you spent a lot of money on this show, but I have to leave. Like, I can't be here for this. I was like, she's like, yeah, this is getting real hard. And I was like, do you just want to go back to my mom's? Like, there's literally a bar across the street from my mom, like maybe a block and a half away from my mom's house. And I'm like, do you just want to go to the ready room and like hang out and drink? And then we can just spend the night at my mom's. She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, good. Because
I'm not surprised. I've seen Morrissey obviously multiple times because I don't know a Mexican that doesn't like the Smiths. So I've seen him so many times and I totally understand what you're talking about because there's sometimes that I've seen him that he plays like a lot of Smith songs and it's like really fun. And he's always political no matter what. Like he always has something to say, you know, about how fucked up society is. But I definitely seen him certain times where it's like just like I feel like it's like depending on what mood he's in, he comes out and like he's like, I'm gonna do just a bunch of my new shit and I don't care. And I'm like he played police brutality videos what's that song that's really great? Fuck. I'm blanking. I'll look it up.
Yeah, it just ruins it. You can't listen to it.
But and then obviously he plays like Meet His Murder by the Smiths and he plays a bunch of videos of animal brutality in farms and things like that. So it's like, it's shit that people should be aware about for sure. Like it's important shit. But the issue is that I think that some people just go to concerts to escape. So I feel like sometimes it's a little too much for people to handle and sometimes he goes like hard, like depressing as fuck. So I get it.
Like, I've seen all those videos. I'm vegan. I get it. I'm with you.
Right.
Stop.
I don't need to be yelled at.
Crap. I'm here to have fun. I got dressed up. I put makeup on. I have my Spanx on. Let me have fun. God damn it.
Yeah. Like if you're going to go see Morrissey, you expect to like, you know, hear How Soon Is Now and like dance to like, Big Mouth Strikes Again and This Charming Man and like all like the good stuff. You're there to like have fun. I get it. So totally. It's so funny because like my brother, I saw one of the times I saw him was with my brother and sister-in-law and they were also so upset because they're like, what is happening? Like I'm here to have we got a babysitter and I'm fucking like so annoyed that I have to be lectured when I know what's going on in the world. So
yeah, he has like two modes. It's either concert and it's fun and amazing, or you're at a rally that you did not know you were invited to.
Exactly.
And it gets rough. Tim
is very, very amazing music. Like all of it. Like the Smiths is legendary.
Yeah. American Pie 1 and 2 definitely has great soundtracks. Forrest Gump, obviously. I think that was the first like 2 CD pack I ever got was the Forrest Gump soundtrack.
Yeah, totally. Same. I think that and like The Doors, but also what was the last one he mentioned?
Boogie Nights and
Kill Bill. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Kill Bill, man. I mean, Tarantino sountracks.
I was about to say anything Tarantino. I watched I was watching the Grindhouse movies the other day, and like you can't watch Death Proof without wanting to listen to those songs. Like constantly. Like it's
Totally.
such a great like, and it's so Austin, you know, like it's just such a great sound and environment. And I just missed it and just was listening.
Dude, down in Mexico by the coasters is like my jam. Like the
Oh,
song that the girl dances to,
yeah.
like it's literally starts with the lyrics are down in a Mexicali, which is like my hometown. So I'm like, hell yeah, I get so happy when I hear that song.
And those drums, like you can't help but dance to that song. It's just I was playing I was
That is
playing
a banger.
I was playing this the station on Spotify when I was like making dinner. I was like dancing around. My mom's like, "What are you listening to?" And I'm like, "Shh, just enjoy. Don't
Totally.
question. Just have fun." We do have another Streamlabs that came in. PC, hi, sweet pea. She says, "Sorry, Dorina, I never got into the Smiths. Actually, I don't think anyone in my family likes them. LOL. You know what? Some families just don't. Some families have very like very strict tastes."
Well, you know what, PC? I think what I have found is that there's at least a couple of songs I'll end up liking from most bands. So it's like you never know. I bet you there's like that one or two Smith songs that you haven't heard of that you probably like because they do make like a lot of different shit. And that's what I found with like when people are like, oh, I don't like the Beatles or I don't like Radiohead. They've usually only listened to like one of the eras or one of the stages in their revolution as like musicians and artists. So you never know. You could find a song or two you might like.
Yeah, I always say that there's whether it's a band or a genre of music, there's something for everyone. Like there are very few bands that I'm like, no, everything in this is just ridiculous. Like there was a band on Warped Tour called The Millionaires. It was awful. I don't understand why they had a crowd. It was like they were like the least favorite band for everybody on Warped Tour that year. It was just obnoxious. They had like it's Warped Tour, it's hot, and they had like their hair teased out to here in like a messy, I don't know, like emo beehive ridiculousness. And then everybody's sweaty and they had like super heavy makeup on. I'm like, they're just yelling at people. I'm like, I can't, just please don't stop.
Wait. PC says, I didn't know. I'm going to lose my Mexican card. I didn't know you were Mexican. So here's the thing. Maybe it's not even just a Mexican thing that we think Morrissey is like Jesus, Mexican Jesus or whatever. Like maybe it's like Mexicans, but like that grew up in the 80s and 90s. So maybe it's a generational thing. And now most Mexicans aren't even into the Smiths. I feel old because of that.
Yeah. I mean,
damn, PC, how old are you? Tell me.
I mean, to be fair, it's one of those things that's like I've legit never met any Hispanic who has disliked. Oh, I've never met any Hispanic who has disliked Morrissey. Like that, like you said, it's their Jesus. Like that, it's Jesus and then the Smiths right underneath.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's a fascinating thing because a lot of Americans are surprised at that factoid, but it's true.
It is.
All right, yeah. So you're like a little bit. You're like 5 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So maybe you're like more of a 90s and an 80s baby.
I was like the tail end of their like super strong grip on popular music, I think. Because they were played a lot. I mean, I'm barely older than her, but you know, I turned 37 in like a month and a half. So, but I remember the Smiths super well. I mean, we were never, but my family's so white. Oh my God. They like my mom's favorite band is the Beatles. I grew up like knowing every lyric to every Mamas and Papa song. Like,
yeah, that's what my mom should too. I wonder if our moms are around the same age because that's like the shit my mom would grow up with or we grew up listening to her play like her records and cassettes and it was like totally Mamas and the Papas, like the sort of like what they call like hippie music. Yeah. Right. And so she loved all that like peace and love type shit. But then she also liked she's still alive. Like she likes stuff now, but I just mean like the stuff that she would listen to was like everything from Carole King to like Roberta Flack, right? So like she had, it was all over the place of like, I was very lucky that I grew up listening to so much different music because of her. Because she like imagine like a mom being like, oh, here's here's Paul McCartney's or Wings album for the first time, and then also it's like, also here's Paranoid by Black Sabbath, right? Like, I mean, that's all over the fucking place.
I think my parents' musical education stopped right around like the early '80s, because they raised us on everything before that, like everything,
Right.
like Mario Lanza and Moms and Papas, Four Seasons, and everything from that before era. And I'm so glad, because like now it's just enriched everything that it's enriched my appreciation for everything that's come after.
Do you think that that's like that's what's really cool about? I guess we're lucky that way that we have parents with such diverse taste in art,
Mhm.
But I feel like if you're a kid and you're being exposed to all these different types of art, like whether it's music or movies, especially, right? Like all kinds, like, but it's like all kinds of different things. It makes you a little bit more like open to seeking out even newer things or things that are different. Or that's why like to this day, I don't know how you are about this, but I'm curious because so many of my friends just stop seeking out new music and they only listen to like the stuff they grew up with. There's a lot of people I know like that, but I can't live like that. Like I need new music constantly. So I don't know how you are about that.
I mean, it's one of those things that's like, while I was while I was touring, it was really hard for me to find new things, because the way that I discovered music back like in my late teens and early 20s was going to concerts and seeing the opening bands and
Right.
like follow and being like, oh, I really like these guys, let's follow their career. And one of those bands happened to be Fall Out Boy. Like, I saw them play for 11 people at Slim's, and that's including the bouncer, the other security guard, and the bartender. Like,
Right.
it was nuts. And now they're like, everybody knows who Fall Out Boy is. But like,
Yeah.
that's how I learned about new music. And so now, older, I rely very heavily on Spotify.
Yeah.
I love discovering new music, but at this point I'm just like, just bring it to me, because I don't have enough energy to seek it out, because there's
It
so
is
many
work.
different places. It is a lot of work, but like, when somebody recommends a band to you, like they're already vetted. Like
Yeah.
people who know me know the type of music I like, and I love the music that tells stories and has a good beat to it. One of my favorite bands, yes, I saw you, Chris. I'm so excited. One of my favorite artists, his name is Butch Walker, and I'm so glad
Mhm.
you finally started listening to him, Chris. He's amazing. He's a
Mhm.
singer, he's a songwriter, he's a producer. He works with everyone under the sun, and he's so fucking talented. So like,
Yeah.
anything that he works on, and since he works with everybody, I will listen to everything that he works on. So I get to discover a lot of new bands that way. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you need new things in life. You can't just like stall your cultural education in your like when you're like 32, and then you've got what, like
Right.
40 to 60 more years ahead of you of like not doing anything, of not discovering anything new. That seems insane.
I would just get bored. Like,
Yeah.
it's weird growing up and switching a little bit to movies from the same thing. Like, it's weird growing up as a kid and literally just being like, I'm like a Star Wars purist. Like, I'm one of those annoying people that only likes the old shit. And like, and I remember just being such a huge fan. And now I'm like, with all this new shit, I'm just like, all right, well, I'm happy it makes you guys happy. I just would rather watch something different, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, and not to put that down because I'm also super into nostalgia. Like I have my comfort shit as well, right? Like I'm gonna like like if I need if I need to listen to like I don't fucking know, the Bee Gees, I'm like, fuck yeah, I need to listen to the Bee Gees and dance, right? Because like there's a reason why those amazing Star Wars movies are there, right? There's like, or classics, right? So it's the same reason as like listening to older music is the same thing. Like just because you're listening to the Bee Gees or disco or like at fucking ABBA, right? Like or Simon and Garfunkel, like they're the classics for a reason.
Yeah.
So I love and it's comforting, but then I also get bored that I'm like, okay, now I want to listen to something that my ears have never listened to and discovered something that I can like become addicted to. And like when you discover a new song and you just like can't stop listening to it and you're listening to it on repeat, I'm like, oh, it's one of my favorite things.
Have you do you remember a band that you discovered through a mix CD or something that like it affected you in such an amazing way that like now you're just such a big fan of theirs?
like just discovering like a song like on whatever, like through a music
however.
video or
or like
I
an
guess.
opening band at a concert.
Oh yeah, that's fun. Let's trade opening band stories. But to answer your first question, I think like I remember I think I was in college. You know the band Keen?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like I think I was like it was a long time ago. I remember specifically seeing their music video, "Somewhere Only We Know." It's a very popular song that most people know that has been used in movies now forever. I think they even used it in the fucking Winnie the Pooh trailer, which I was like, oh, that's sweet. But it's like a sweet pop sounding band. The guy has a beautiful tenor voice.
Yeah.
And I just remember like because of that video, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go seek them out. And then they're like similar to like Arcade Fire. When I first heard the first song of theirs I heard was Neighborhoods, Tunnels. And I listened to that album Funeral for a while when I discovered it, and now I'm like I get all their albums and I'm obsessed with them. Like I love every single one of their albums. Like that's like it's similar to Radiohead, right? When you just discover a band and you're like, I'm gonna seek you out. Do you also know Saint Vincent? Annie Clark?
The name sounds incredibly familiar. I can't name any of their songs, but it's one of those like if you play it for me, I can tell you exactly where I was the first time I heard it.
Well, it's this woman called Annie Clark who's like definitely grew up as a huge David Bowie fan. So I wonder what you would think, but she's also really versatile. Like she did a piano album, and then she also plays the electric guitar. So like she's all over the place, like really fucking cool. Just keeps reinventing herself and makes really artsy music videos.
That's so cool. PC says, I need to go into hiding after that last Streamlabs. Ha 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 ha. Oh, babe, no, it's fine. You can love
what? No,
you can love.
No, you're fine. You can love what you love. No shame here. Just surprising though. Like, and that makes me think. I'm telling you, it might be a generational thing then. Maybe it's old Mexicans like me.
Older. Not old. Let's just clarify that because I am not far behind you. Even though my body feels like I'm 92, it's fine.
Well, we all have aged like 10 years in a year, Rachel.
That's true. Yeah. So now I'm 102. Great. But no, I remember, I know this brings up a lot of controversial feelings for some listeners or some viewers, but I discovered Brand New when I picked up, you remember Road Rules on MTV?
I remember the show. I remember it existed. I never watched. I'm like such a snob about reality TV.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this was like when it first existed, and it's not like the 25th iteration of the same thing.
Like real world type shit.
Yeah, although I am super interested in the new in the reunion of the New York cast.
I keep hearing about it. Yeah.
It's 30 years later. They got everybody to come back. I'm like, wow. But
That's
they had
crazy.
a soundtrack for they called it Don't Make Me Pull This Over Volume 1. And it had bands like The Used and Thursday and then they had Brand New on it. And the song was Jude Law and the Semester Abroad. And I could not stop listening to that song. And that's how I discovered Brand New, was through this like TV show soundtrack. And they blew up and like became one of my favorite bands of all time. Yes, I understand that Jesse Lacey as a human being is very controversial, but you cannot argue against the man's talent for songwriting and singing. Like it's
Morrissey's an asshole. Like, yeah. That's like there's so many people are like, oh, like Ignition remix by R. Kelly is a great song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what's gonna happen. People that do horrible things sometimes make good art. Like that's just the shit that happens. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can be a whole like good person and make amazing art. There has to be something in you that's a little damaged, just a little bit.
Exactly. Well, no, I mean, there's definitely good people like can make good art, but no, there's totally truth to what you're saying. Like, definitely like. Sometimes amazing art comes from pain and suffering and like life experience, and sometimes you end up crazy. but I one that I guess that you said, like another song I remember. It's like when I got super into EDM the last few years, that I got into like DJing and shit like that. That I wanted to pursue that. Polo and Pan is a band from France that's relatively new, and they're just two dudes that are really good at electronic music, like just being DJs, and they make really cool, also fantastical psychedelic music videos, and they're all about just like dancing. It's like it's if you want to dance, it's a really cool band that, like, I remember hearing the first song of theirs that I was like, this is my new favorite band, and it's the most listened to on my Spotify for like a year because it's just dancing. So if you're at home and you want to like release stress and like you're feeling down about it, Polo and Pan, telling you guys, they're so good.
Well, there goes that question. I was going to ask you, who do you dance around the house to?
Yeah. Totally. They're the best. They're just so fun because like they have like it's like electronic music, but it's more tropical, right? They end up using like world music instruments, right? So it's not the typical like house or trap techno type shit that I'm not as into. Actually, house is fine, just not trap. But it's more like you know that these dudes listen to classical music, and you know that they also listen to like tropical music and like Latin American or or African rhythms and things like that. So like that's where I feel like that mesh of all these genres of music comes in. That's what makes for like great electronic music.
Interesting. I'll definitely have to give them a
Yeah.
listen, because there's literally something to be said about just like being able to turn your brain off and just kind of zone out and listen to like the really fantastic music.
Yeah.
And being able to do that, because I think that this last year has kind of robbed me of that, because like just the anxiety of everyday life and like not knowing what's going to happen. Like you can't, like, it's been so hard to turn your brain off, which is why edibles are so wonderful.
Hell yeah.
I'm sorry for everybody who cannot legally indulge. I'm so
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm also sorry I'm stoned right now. I hope I'm not like slow.
No.
Because I get slow and low when I get stoned.
That's actually, I had a really rough day on Warped Tour one time, and I went to go hang out with, Circus Survive. And one of their tech guys, we're all just sitting in lawn chairs in front of their bus. And I'm just like sitting there just like so stressed out. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I need to like do some yoga or something." And he goes, "Here, have some of this," and like passed me his pipe. And I was like, I love this. And then I got on my bus at bus call and would not, like, I literally sat in the front lounge. Everybody's hanging out, having drinks and talking. And I'm just literally sitting there completely silent, just like watching everyone. And one of the guys on my bus came over and he's like, "Are you stoned?" And I'm like, I was like, "How could you tell?" He's like, "You're not talking at all." I was like, "Yeah, that happens."
Is that what happens?
Yeah,
every time, or just most times?
Most times I just get super observant, and like I just will sit back and enjoy. And I just it's like when when you were little, and like you used to play with a bunch of your friends, and like your mom would just be like watching you a little bit from the kitchen, or like she'd be
No, because
sitting
I
on the
didn't have
couch
any
and-
friends, Rachel.
What?
Until I didn't have friends as a kid, Rachel.
Are you serious?
So no, I don't know what that was like. So thank you for like bringing up my like sad childhood memories of not having any friends. No, I'm kidding. Keep going.
I love you, stoned. But like, you just have this like parental figure that's just kind of like chilling and like watching the kids play. Like I just become that. I'm just like, "Oh, don't kill anybody. Don't bleed on the carpet."
Right.
Like,
right. Totally.
It's my favorite thing. Plus, one of my favorite things to do is just to literally sit back and listen to people talk about things that they're passionate about. And so like, when you get together with like our group of mutual friends, like, if you get together with like PJ and like Alice and, anybody from like that whole era, like you get everybody together and everybody just starts talking so fast about the things that they love. And I'm just like, this is my happy place. I'm just going to pop an edible and like sit back and enjoy this and like listen to you guys talk. It's so much fun. I
get it. I mean, that's how it's similar to just like popping an edible at a concert and like just literally dancing and just people watching at the same time. Yeah. It's kind of like that's like happy place material. But for sure, it's weird. Like, are you in general like talkative when you're in a group of friends, right? You're kind of like me, where you're not really like super shy or anything like that.
I mean, it depends on the group of friends and the topic. Like if I'm knowledgeable about something, I'll talk about it. Or if we're just bullshitting, like I have no problem talking. But like I said, if somebody is super passionate about something and like they're, expelling knowledge, like I will shut the fuck up and sit back and like maybe ask a question or two. Excuse me. But
Salud.
Thank you. But most of the time, yeah, I have no problem talking.
Yeah. Well, no, because when I kind of feel the same way, but like when I'm stoned, it's something happens and I just get more relaxed and chill. And so I'm like, yeah, you guys talk.
Yeah.
You guys like you do it. So
there was one time I literally sat back and someone was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm great. Entertain me."
Yes.
I was like,
I'd much rather be entertained than entertained. Totally get it.
Yeah. I mean, there's times when I'm like, "Watch me dance."
Right. And
then no.
Oh. Brandy says shy is one word I would never use to describe Rachel. That's what I thought. I was just confirming.
I'm not shy. I'm occasionally quieter. But no, shy is not one of those things that I've ever really had to deal with. Like social anxiety a little bit, but like I'm never like it's one of those like once the ice breaks, there's no going back. You're screwed. You've got a friend for life.
Yeah, like once you find something, that's what's cool about meeting people, and that's another thing that I kind of do miss is like the interacting socially with people that are like acquaintances, or like when you hit it off with somebody that you find a topic or something you're both passionate about, you're like, hell yeah, this is my people.
Yeah, I miss that. I miss meeting random people at bars. Like
totally,
that's so much fun.
Yeah, isn't it weird how you don't I feel like a lot of us, so many of us took that shit for granted when you're like, oh, you can't even have like just meet people on the street and just like or at the store or whatever you're doing, like just like have conversations with people you don't know. Yeah. It's weird how I feel like we need that as humans. And I personally didn't realize that, like I totally took that shit for granted.
Yeah. There was, when I was still living in Glendale with Alex and Brandon, we were literally like a block away from a Ralph's. And so we'd go in there, I got to know, some of the workers there. And I was checking out one day and this woman in front of me like didn't wear her mask, and the cashier's trying to like be like, you need to wear your mask. I know you're on your way out to your car, but you're still in the store, like, and all this. She's done. She's at the end of the thing, like gathering her bags. And I walk up and I see her and she recognizes me and I go, God, isn't it just annoying when some people just don't follow the fucking rules? And I just stared her down and she was like trying not to laugh until she walked away. And I was like, you're welcome. She's like, thank you for being my voice. I'm like, any time. Oh my God. I love having those tiny little conversations because, I worked in customer service for so long. Like I've dealt with some really awful human beings.
Yeah.
And you have to,
once you work in service, it's, yeah. Yeah. Like I was a bartender. Yeah. Like I had a little bit of respect because you're behind the thing and you're giving people alcohol, so they like have to be nice to you, but some people are kind of dicks and you have to deal with them.
I broke a guy's finger one time because he kept snapping at the bartender. That was fun.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's like excuse me, and I like just reached out to stretch and like jammed his hand down into the bar top and broke his pinky. No, fuck him. Like bartenders were my favorite people on tour because like you travel from city to city for so long, and like the only people that you see on a really regular basis are going to be the bartenders. So like there was a bartender at the what was it Charlotte Airport that we for some reason flew through like a dozen times one season. And so we got to know the bartender at the hotel bar that we would go to, or at the airport bar that we would go to all the time during our layovers, to the point where we got his phone number and would text him when we landed. And we would be like, we're in gate 32. We'll be there in 3 minutes, the regular crowd. And he would have our seats at the bar saved for us with our drinks on the bar prepared for us. Mm-hmm. Like we ended up being.
That's like it's like a beautiful, a type of friendship that is temporary, but you're all just like click and like help each other out. That's awesome.
Well, it's funny because we stayed friends with him for like 4 years because the girlfriend, we were with him through the breakup of his then girlfriend, him meeting his new girlfriend, they're getting engaged, their wedding, and their first son.
Right.
Like we literally showed
That's
up
a party.
one time. Yeah, we literally showed up one time. We're like, where's Jack? And they're like, oh, he got married last week. And we're like, that was last week? Like, it was like, who does that? I do, apparently.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. And there's also, did you see Nomadland?
Not yet. I feel like it's
with
really
Frances
gonna be fun.
McDormand.
Yeah.
So it just, I thought the cool part of the story was just how there's all these people that are literally nomads and they don't have, like, they just travel around in their, you know, RVs or their vans, and they kind of end up making bonds with people, with strangers, right? And they don't know if they're going to see each other down the road, like whether it's in a month or a year or never, right? And so it's just, I don't know, it's a really beautiful thing about human connections, that they're not even, you know, your family or the people you grew up with, but you end up just making bonds with total strangers. That's a beautiful fucking thing, to get sappy and everything.
Yeah, no, I feel I didn't know that it was I got the idea that was what the movie was about, but like that's literally the life that I lived when I was on tour. Like,
yeah,
you never know if the next time you go back to that city that the same house manager is going to be there. You don't know, and you become friends with these people. Like,
yeah.
Like I emailed the house manager at the Arsht Center in Miami a few weeks ago and haven't seen her in 3 years. Like, who knows if we're ever going to see each other again? But like, these are just friends that like you collect along the way, and it is that understanding of like, I like you, I hope the best for you, and I hope I get to see you down the road someday.
Exactly.
And you never know where that's going to happen.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's all the fun. I actually ran into an old, my first year on Warped Tour, she was my tour bus captain, and I hadn't seen her in like 7, 8 years. And then I had a layover in Chicago, and I walk into the bar and I sit down and I order my drink, and I hear this voice from like 2 people over from me, because there's like 2 big burly dudes and then like me, and she's on the other side of them, and I hear her voice and she goes, oh my god, Rachel. And I look over and I hadn't seen Janitha in 7 years. Apparently she was on some tour, and they were on their way like west. I was on my way east. We both had layovers, and so I got to sit in the Chicago airport at a bar talking with an old friend and making new tour friends. And I was like, I'll probably see you down the road, because that's just how life works. Well, that's how my life worked anyway. I miss it.
Do you miss it?
I do. I mean, now especially.
Like, but do you miss being away from home? Because like when I was doing like tour managing type shit, like it was like I definitely would be gone for like 3 months. You know, like that's a long time to be away. So like I miss a little bit of it, but I don't miss being away from home for that long.
Well, I mean, I would love, that's literally the reason why I stopped doing it, was because I did 9 years of touring off and on with like punk and metal bands. And then I did 5 years with Beauty and the Beast. And that was 8 to 10 months out of the year, almost straight. And then I did 2 years with An American in Paris, and that was about the same amount of time away. So for like 7 years, I wasn't really home. And that really ate away at me. And that's like the main reason why I stopped touring, was because my friends were getting married and babies were being born and birthdays and like all of these really important and magical things that you would normally get to experience in a normal life, I was missing out on. And it really got to me. So that's why I stopped. But then I got the opportunity to go back on tour with John, and I was like, oh yeah, it's like 9 to 11 weeks. Totally good for that. So if I can get on like a 6-month tour or less, I would 100% go back out on the road.
Yeah, like that sounds more reasonable.
Yeah.
Like I just remember, because the thing is, at least with like I feel like people think it's like a glamorous lifestyle, and I'm like, there is not like at all. Yeah. And I remember like touring with one of these artist clients I had. It was incredible female vocalists, and they were the Three Graces. So they were like the girl version of the El Divo. So it was like pop opera type shit. Yeah, and so they were my artist client, and really talented people that like one was opera, one was Broadway, and one was pop, and we went everywhere, like in the US, and then we also went to Canada and Mexico. And like Mexico was cool because like I got to do a lot there for like the press in Spanish, right? So I was like, these are my people, this is great, I was so happy to be there. But I also got to be in each city for like what, you're there for one day.
Yeah.
You leave the next day. Sometimes there's like 2 nights in a row at different places. Like it's exhausting. You don't sleep. Like it's a hard life. So like it's definitely, it's like, it can be really awesome, but it takes a lot out of you and out of your body. It's exhausting. Like being like the first one to go to bed or the last one to go to bed and the first one to wake up. It's some shit.
Yeah. It's, and always constantly being on call. That part I don't miss. But when I was with Broadway, especially the last 2 years on American in Paris, it was an equity tour. So we were in each city, like it was a unionized tour. So according to union rules, like we were in a town no less than a week. And because I had been touring for so long, I already knew every city that we were going to. Like I legit could walk from the hotel to the venue blindfolded. As long as I didn't have to cross the street. Like it was like I could give directions in just about any major city at this point, from any hotel to my favorite bars. So I miss that. I miss seeing the faces,
like discovering places as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, it got to a point towards the end that I was like, I've been here so many times. I don't care. Like, I'm just going to sit in my hotel room. Yes, I've been to the Space Needle 11 times. I don't need to go back. I mean, honestly, in Seattle, I would go to the Space Needle, but they would all go up into the Needle, and I would go to the M-Pop. It's the museum of...
I love it there.
Oh my God, it's so
it's
cool.
like what is it? Like music experience or I forget what the fuck it's called.
Popular culture or something. Like it's so fucking cool. And they have that like tower of guitars.
Yeah. But it's so rad because like you get to see, it's basically if you're a music nerd, you're gonna like it. Like and they have all the eras, right? Like they have like grunge and like so there was like Nirvana shit, and then there's Pearl Jam, and then they have like a section for like all the eras. So they have classic rock and like it's really, really great.
And they have like
but the Space Needle is terrifying.
The Space Needle is terrifying. Just don't look down, look out. I learned that.
No, but the floor, some of it is clear.
Yeah, that's why
so
you
can
look
see through
out.
it. My friend Nicole and I went, and we were stoned out. Like, I mean, I'm a stoner now, so like I can tolerate it pretty well. But like we were stoned then, and I'm terrified of heights. And I was just like, I think we're dead. Like this isn't real life. We died. And this is like, I mean, I still had fun. I was like, this is death. This is fine. Because I mean, it's all right. It's just really fucking high up. And it's terrifying, but like, as we're dead, because it's so scary, we're dead. So, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, literally any major city that anybody travels to, I can give them advice on where to go. Like one of my favorite, there's somebody on Twitter, one of my friends answered a question. Somebody was like, hey, I'm in Minneapolis for the next like 4 days with nothing to do. What do I do? And I'm like, oh my God, you have to go to Pizza Luce and get a pizza. Then you need to go to Dangerous Man Brewing Company and get their peanut butter porter or their oatmeal stout. Like, oh my God, you have to go to these places. Like, it's second nature. And whenever I talk about it, or whenever I think about like friends in different cities, like the desire to go back just to experience those things and like hang out with them and like work with the people at the venues that I used to, like it's so overwhelming at this point.
That's really cool though. Like now I know who to ask. Do you have a favorite city?
Oh, I mean, for what? I think Austin's my favorite one to walk around because I mean, other than like New York is just entertainment 24/7, 360 degrees. Like that city's so fucking wonderful. I need to get back. Austin is fantastic. I love Portland and Seattle.
Yeah. Really
Minneapolis
great.
is completely underrated. Minneapolis, if you ever go there, there's a bar called First Avenue, and
Okay.
I met Prince's drummer there because
Okay.
every Monday
Sheila
night.
E?
What? Oh no, no,
Sheila
not
E?
her.
Okay.
The big, he's a very large man. I cannot remember his name.
Is he also Paul McCartney's guy? I
I
forget.
think so. I'm
Like
very
Abe
drunk every time
something.
I go there.
Okay.
He's a very large black man, and he is so wonderful. But every Monday night they would play there, and so we didn't know that that was like an every week thing. So every time we would go into
Oh.
the city, we would travel in on Mondays, and I had my drinking boys on my tour, and so we would just instantly go to this bar because it was like from the outside it's a really shitty looking bar. Like it looks like people get stabbed in the alley. I'm sure they do, but like it looks really janky. And
I
you
mean,
walk,
dive bars are the best.
they're the best. I miss that smell. Oh God, the
Mm-hmm.
smell of a bad bar.
Mm-hmm.
But we would walk in and just start drinking. The first time we were there, somebody came over to the bartender and was like, "Are they staying?" And he was like, "I don't know. Are you guys staying for the show?" And I'm like, "There's a show?" And he's like, "Yeah, there's going to be a band playing. If you're going to stay, just go give the door guy like $5." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, we'll stay." So I like took a 20 over and we stayed and hung out, and they played like blues and funk and jazz, and like
Mm,
there was literally a stage maybe like 40 square feet, maybe. And they had like
yes.
14 people on that stage with like a full drum kit, like 3 guitars, a bass, a keyboard, like backup singers, like it was so amazing. And every time we go back, we have to go there. It's so much fun.
That's awesome. I've never been to Minneapolis, but there, dude, that type of live music when you're at a small like venue, and like every musician there is the best. Like going to like a jazz club or like especially like seeing blues live. Oof, there is nothing like that. Like I was wondering if you were going to mention something like New Orleans, because that's what that city is
Oh,
like. Because I just went there for the first time like right before the pandemic, and I'd never been there before, and on top of it being like so fucking witchy, such a witchy city, like there was live music everywhere like that. I was in heaven.
yeah, that city's phenomenal. Do you ever read Anne Rice books?
Oh yeah, hell yeah,
So
come on girl, who do you think I am?
what's it? The Mayfair Witches.
Uh-huh.
Like that is all set in New Orleans in the Garden District. And the first time I went there, for some reason, I in my mind I equated listening like the only music I would listen to when I would read those books was Vivaldi's Four Seasons. And
Okay.
so I loaded it onto, this was years ago, so I loaded it onto my iPod, and I literally spent 5.5 hours just walking around the Garden District looking for the house that inspired the Mayfair estate. And I eventually found it, and like I just stood there like listening to Vivaldi, and I'm like, it's so perfect. Like it was like one of those
So good.
magical moments in life. I
Hmm.
love that city. We got to be there for we were there the week of Mardi Gras.
Oh,
So it
that's
was,
fun.
yeah, it's
That's
literally one
fun.
of those things that I'm like, I'm never going to pay to be there for it. So I'm really glad I was paid to be there for it. Um,
Mhm.
well,
I totally get it, man.
yeah.
No, I mean, by the way, Camshift says Michael Bland may be the drummer's name.
Oh, maybe. It's been a
Yeah.
while since I've seen him. I honestly don't know if he's still alive or dead, but
But
not
yeah,
because
no, I love those moments when, like, speaking of like soundtracks, like when you're in a city where it happened and not to quote Hamilton, but when you have like the actual, like your headphones and you can listen to the song. Like, the first time I went to Chicago and only time was for Star Wars Celebration. And,
oh yeah.
and I like Mark Ellis had a stand up and and the convention was like 4 days, but one day I didn't go, and I just went to the Art Institute of Chicago, and because I'd never been, and I fucking like going to museums and cities is like my favorite thing to do, and
Mm-hmm.
so and I just hung out there like all day. Obviously took my edible, listening to my headphones, and like pretending I was in Ferris Bueller, and like listening to like Dream Academy, and like the Ferris Bueller soundtrack the whole day. It was fucking amazing. I was so happy. These are the
That's
best
fantastic.
moments.
You've only been to Chicago once? I think you would really
Yeah.
I think Chicago is a city that you would absolutely love to like go and like actually spend time in and not just like
I
visit.
agree. I was like, "Holy shit, this place is incredible." I was so happy to be there. I just hadn't traveled as much. Like when I traveled on tour, it was like get in and out, right?
Yeah.
As you know. And so when I never really like been able to like there's not a lot of cities or states in the country that I've been able to visit and I really want to. Like I've
Mhm.
been to, you know, Pacific Northwest
Yeah.
and the corners like New York, Boston, and then like Orlando. But I still like, I guess I've been to Austin and Houston, and then
Yeah.
like they, you know, fucking Utah was the only other place that's like a national park that's incredible. But I had there's like the U.S. is pretty fucking cool. Like there's
Yeah.
so many amazing cities and different landscapes that I want to visit for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when the fucking pandemic's over soon, we'll
Yeah.
see.
I I hit all 50 states before I turned 30, and I was joking around with my best friend, and I was like, "I wanna get a t-shirt with the outline of the US, and it says 50 by 30," and she's like, "Rachel, you can't do that."
Yeah.
I was like, "Why?" She goes, "Rachel, think about it. It gets misinterpreted." And I was like, "Oh, maybe it's a house shirt."
Boo.
Yeah, but it's
I
yeah,
say
no,
wear what you want.
I've been to every I've been to every state multiple times. I've been to every major city. I've been to a lot of the A markets, B markets, C markets, and D markets. And I think that Chicago would I think you would have a lot of fun in Chicago because there's
Well,
like,
I loved it so far.
yeah. I mean, I got to go there for I was there and working for Lollapalooza, and it was like one of the best experiences. It was so much fun. Oh,
Yeah, no, I know I really want to keep traveling. Hopefully, that's like that was my other jam. I was like, oh, I finally have a little bit of money saved up that I can travel, and then the pandemic happened. Damn it! So,
what's the first place you want to visit when all of this is over?
I mean, if I could go anywhere, one of the places I've been. My husband and I got to go to Paris and well, to France and Italy for the first time. Like literally, we did our honeymoon like years after we got married. Was basically what happened. And so so now that I've gone to Paris and like Florence in Italy, I think my next big city that I wanted to go to is Tokyo.
Ooh.
Like I would fucking love to be able to go there. And just because I love everything Japan, and I hear it's like super clean and it's like the future. But if I had to pick a place in the US, again, New Orleans I had just visited for the first time, and it was I fucking fell in love with that city so much. So I would love to go back. I just loved it. I went there with like my boyfriend and I were like freaking out. We're like, this is like goth city. Like we were so excited.
Yeah,
So
I hope
yeah.
this year, if they can do it, I hope that they do Voodoo Fest again because that shit is so much fun. It's like right around Halloween, and they get like all super like goth bands to come and play, and it's so much fun.
Yes. You know where would be fun
More
too
than-
though? Because like something like Salem for like Halloween. Like I know it gets crowded as fuck, but like I've never been to that area. Like that I've been to Boston, but I never really got to go to like Massachusetts, Maine, like see like the type of like weather and Halloween that you would see in like Disney family movies from when we were kids. You know that I'm like, I want to see that shit in person. That'd be awesome.
I want to see fog on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, it's really great if you really want to like have a really fun party environment for Halloween is Dublin. I spent a Halloween in Dublin,
Ooh.
and it was not what I was expecting. It was so much fun.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, why? That's
I mean,
so cool.
I was expecting something like, you know, a little more traditional, a little more low key,
Mhm.
and it was not. It was like legit the reason that like first of all, we went to a club and people were so dressed up. And I'm not just talking about like, you know, sometimes people like hack it and they're like, "Oh, I'm a chest of drawers," and like have like underwear pinned to their white t-shirt. Like everybody was full out, decked to the tens. Full makeup, hair, gorgeous costumes at a dance club that was playing great music, and everybody was just drunk and doing drugs, and it was just a blast. And everybody was like looking out for each other. It was the most amazing experience. It was so
That's
much
so
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. I mean, I've never been to Dublin. I've always wanted to go. I want to go to Scotland just literally to go drink a bunch of scotch.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to go to all the places to drink scotch. So, but yeah, there's just so many places, man. Like the world is a beautiful thing. It's just that it's being ruined by corporations. So, kids, remember to buy not from Amazon if you can.
It's true. Buy from the people. No, it's been a goal of mine. I've never been to Scotland, but I want to go to a bar in Scotland and drink to the point where I can understand the Scots.
Yeah.
Because Scottish are incredibly hard to understand. Like they have like I don't even know if it's an actual language, because it doesn't sound like it, but it's
right.
fucking beautiful and I love it. It's them and the Welsh. Like, dude, when you hear them talk, you're like, what? Are those words?
Yeah.
It just blurs together.
I mean,
it's so beautiful.
think about like English is my second language, so think about it that way. Where it's like I can't even understand British people, like just like with the like the Sherlock Holmes type accent. Like I have to either watch subtitles. I mean, I can't even understand certain accents in the U.S. Right? Like there's people from the South, or there's so many different accents everywhere that I'm like, wait, what is this person saying? Like regular Californian English is like hard enough for me, right? So yeah, I can't. Yeah, you're right that like some like Scottish or Irish, I'm like, what the like, no idea.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I miss too is hearing the different dialects throughout the U.S. Because like when you travel so much, like I literally started becoming like a chameleon, and so we'd be in Texas for like 3 or 4 weeks, and my y'alls would come in real hard, you know, like
Nice.
it just slid in there. Like somehow I don't know what happened, but like my hair would be in pigtails, and like I'd roll up my jeans and I'd wear some boots and shit. Like it just slowly happened, and then I get back to Boston, and that kicks in. It's fun.
You're adapting. It's like human adaptation, like where you're like, oh yeah, I guess these are my people now.
You are my family, except I'll see you later.
Yeah, that's why Madonna was trying to speak British at some point. Remember all that? Yeah, like that's why people do that shit, I guess.
Yeah. I do love kids with accents though. That makes me really happy. Like,
yeah,
they're the cutest.
I love accents. I think language is fucking awesome. Like I'm being bilingual and bicultural, I've been very confused. Like my brain is just always messed up. But I just want to learn more languages. I downloaded Duolingo to try to learn basic French. But it's just cool to like you do it for like 5 minutes every day, and it's a cool little thing, meditative state too. It's because it's good for your brain to learn new shit. Like I said, but yeah, like that's like I tried to learn Japanese in high school. And that shit broke my brain. It was so cool. Just because then you're learning an entirely different alphabet, right? Like it's just like, or like my friends that know Arabic, I'm like, this is like, what is this you're reading? Like, it's fucking crazy and so cool.
How's the French going?
Oh, it's like, I mean, I could probably communicate with like maybe a restaurant, how to order things like that. Like it's very basic stuff, but it's really hard for me to speak it because in Spanish you separate your syllables, right? Like my name in Spanish is Dorina, which is similar to how a Japanese person would say it, but like here I have to Americanize it to Dorina, right? So people understand it. So like with French, it's the opposite of Spanish. That's like it's in the back of the throat. You don't separate your syllables. There's like 3 fucking vowels that you kind of just end up saying one of them instead. It's so weird. I mean, it's beautiful. It sounds beautiful, but it's definitely hard.
Yeah. I mean, it was always, I remember the first time I realized, I was watching an LSU football game when I was like 12 or something. And they're, you know, it's very like French Creole down there. And their mascot is the Tigers. And they had a sign that was being broadcast on ESPN, and it said "Go Tigers," but it was GEAUX, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, so like what the? Yeah. I was so confused, and then someone was like, "Oh, it's go," and I'm like, "Huh? There's no O in that. How do you get an O sound with 3 vowels and no O?" Like, I love it. I find it fascinating, but that broke
So,
my brain.
but it breaks your brain, yeah. And I see Cam Chef saying I found French to be a lot like Spanish conjugation wise. Yeah, like that. It's easier to read it. Like I can
Yeah.
read it and be like, oh, I know what that word is, and they use like the what's it called, feminine and masculine. You know, how you end like. I guess there's Latinx now, but I still say Latino or Latina, so it's the same thing in French. And so that's like that's easier to like read it, but to say it is like the total opposite for me. Also, my boyfriend's in the chat. Hey, Frank.
Hi, Frank. She's being modest. Her Duolingo streak.
I mean, 5 minutes every day for over 100 days. I'm proud of myself.
That's awesome. Yeah,
it's only 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I forget.
Yeah, I always have like I have an issue being able to speak a language. Like I'll stumble through it, but like it's just the way that like your mouth is shaped and your tongue. Like it's very like whenever you're learning a new language, you're having to retrain this entire part of your body. And it's something that you haven't done since birth, basically. And it's really, really hard. And so like it's one of those things that like I can understand things that are written in a lot of different languages because especially the ones that are like Latin based, like I can kind of pick a word apart. Like, you know how like when medical students are studying like different diseases and stuff, like you can break the disease word down and be like, okay, this means inflammation, this means this. And I can do that with different languages. And I can be like, okay, well, this means this in this language. So I figure it might be similar. So, and in this context, like I can figure that out. But I can't speak a fucking word of most other languages. I can do a little bit.
It's hard.
But
it's hard. It's kind of like a musical instrument. You literally have to practice every day.
Yeah.
Or most days, not every day, but like at least once or twice a week. Like and you have to use it. Like I mean, my languages, my first language is Spanish, and so if I don't what's it called, like say it every day, I have like totally forget words, right? Like if I don't actually like talk to like my family every day or something, like I'll just forget shit. It's a fucking trip like that your brain goes through, like trying to switch from like something that's like opposite of each other. Like my husband's always like, oh, like you guys speak like Yoda, like Spanish is like backwards of English or whatever. So
yeah, just the way that the words and the sentence structure, it's one of those things that you have to completely shift in your brain. But I took Spanish in high school and I was very sleepy and like I was always tired because I was a cheerleader and I worked full time and I had a bunch of like super hard classes. And so it got to the point where the only things I learned in Spanish were how to order food and drinks and a hotel room with a large bed.
Yeah, but that's important.
It is important, but it's not a good combination for a high school student to know, especially in California when you can drive down past the border. That was an issue with a few of the girls in our high school.
I mean, that was the good times though, man. Like now the border is so hard to get through. Like before you would just cross in 30 minutes or 15 minutes and now it's hours. It's dumb. I miss those days.
I mean, does the bridge even still exist? There used to be like
it's there. It's just you just wait a while. It's really stupid. Yeah. I'm like, yo, you're worried about criminals coming from outside. The criminals are inside the house.
Yeah. They're all in here.
They're out here. They're in government, yo. Like,
the calls are coming.
Send the border patrol to the government. Like, it's so weird.
Put you in DC. Let's just do that.
No, I don't. I never. No, thank you. I will support everybody's campaign, though. I've told like you should run, and I'll totally be your campaign manager. Like I just, yeah, I don't want to do the other part, but I'm happy to. I'm happy to fight the good fight, just not as a politician.
No, but we need a few that are willing to do that.
No, it's really hard. Like that's why there's so many bad faith actors in there. That's because it's a hard job and. Like the people that are good are very inspirational people.
Yeah. To
still keep being there and fighting the good fight. That's some shit, man.
Yeah. Yeah. She's amazing. We all know who we're talking about.
Well, there's several. There's several.
Bunch.
It's just that the majority's fucking wealthy as fuck and greedy with power.
I mean, it's all they know. and they're
Yeah.
afraid that it's going to get taken away, and it should be.
They should just go to a concert, take some Molly, just fucking chill out. Like, see that there's other stuff in life that's more important. I mean, if everybody was, I'm telling you, man, the day they legalize weed federally, there's going to be less war. I guarantee you.
100%. I mean, there's a lot of politics. I think it should be mandatory for politicians to smoke some weed.
Right?
Like,
I agree.
I feel like that. Like, I feel like everybody. I feel like you shouldn't be allowed into the Senate unless you're stoned. Like, like you shouldn't be allowed on the Senate floor unless you're high as a fucking kite.
Like, do you think that like if you're stoned, you're thinking there, oh, I really need an 8th boat,
right?
Like, that's what I need.
Or hey, you know what? Let's increase taxes on the poor. That sounds great. No, they're thinking, you know what sounds really good? A cookie. Where can I get a cookie?
Yeah. And why shouldn't everyone else have a cookie?
Right?
Yeah. Everyone should have cookies. Cookies are great. That's why you think as a stoner. You're like, everyone should have this pizza that I'm trying right now. That's delicious. I want to share it with everyone because pizza is great. And that makes me happy. And since I'm happy, I want other people to be happy, which is why sometimes drugs can be good, kids.
Illegal ones. Certain drugs can be good. Do you remember the rapper The Streets from London?
The what?
There was a rapper from London called, I think it's from London, but definitely the UK, called The Streets.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
He did a song back in like the early 2000s, I think, that literally it was him as a stoner and then another guy as somebody who's drunk. And it was like about the effects of alcohol versus the effects of marijuana.
Oh,
and like
okay.
the stoner was just like, I just want to like sit here and like order like Chinese food and like play my video games. Like, I don't want to go out and drive a car. And then like the drunk guy is like, I'm going to go get fucked up and start a fight. And like, it's such a, like, it's not a song that gets addressed a lot. And I feel like, guys, if you can look this up, because I have no idea what it is, or if you know, it would be amazing. But it's one of those songs that like, I feel like it gets overlooked and completely underappreciated, but it is so fucking great. Because you remember back in like the 90s when people were like, weed, oh my God, it's a gateway drug. And I'm like,
they still are saying that. They're still trying to. But yeah, it was like, I mean, the 80s, dude, like it was like all the Reagan era of what was the organization? Don't do drugs, right? Like, I even remember they had a whole cartoon special. I don't know if you remember it, the cartoon All Stars.
And it was literally on VHS. Oh my God!
Right? Remember that shit? If you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's a cartoon that literally had all of these different brands. Like it was like Care Bears and Garfield and the fucking Muppets, like all kinds of like classic cartoons, and they all did this one cartoon special literally to like tell kids how drugs were bad. And specifically it's this little girl that her older brother is like smoking weed, right? And it's supposed to be like, and then the smoke that comes out was like the villain of the story. Just saying like, and they would have scenes where like the kid's face would like turn all fucked up and like basically like they're doing meth.
Yeah.
Right?
It was literally, that was it. It was meth.
But it was supposed to be weed, right?
Yeah. It was supposed to be weed.
That's what was so weird.
Yes,
it was so weird that
that's the song. Sorry, the irony of it all. For anybody who's listening auditorily, the irony of it all, Brandy, you're the fucking best. I love you so much. But no, yeah, I remember that fucking. I remember watching that as a kid and being completely horrified.
Yeah,
like it is one of the most traumatic things you can show a child, because
totally
it. Like these are characters that you know and love, and like all this fucked up shit is going on, and you just get scared, and you're like, "Mommy, I don't understand." And no kid that saw it when it came out understood what the fuck they were trying to say. It was just scary.
No, it was just like, okay, I guess drugs are bad, and then eventually, I ended up being a pretty like well-behaved kid because like my mom was strict as fuck, and so I just didn't do any of that shit. Like I didn't even try. I've only tried like a couple of or two or three types of drugs. Like I've never done anything hardcore, and
Mhm.
so and I didn't do it till I was an adult. And so now I feel like I'm kind of glad I waited for my brain to grow up to like experiment and shit like that, you know. But I just think that there's different types that can be good for you and different types that can be bad for you. And I discovered that specifically marijuana has been one of the biggest things other than like a healthier lifestyle that's actually helped my anxiety. Right? Like my I'm way less of a control freak, way less of an anxious person because of like something that comes from the earth
Yeah.
that helps your brain fucking chill out. I don't know the science other than the fact that it relaxes me and it helps me out and it helps me focus. Like it's and it helps fucking veterans with their PTSD. Like it's an incredible drug and that does a lot of good. And so it's crazy to like see, you know, remember in the 80s that in the 90s that it's like if you do this you're gonna fucking die. Like what the fuck?
Do you remember the commercial where the two boys are like sitting in one of their dad's offices and they're just like getting stoned, and one of the guys goes to the cabinet and like I think this gets covered on Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, and the kid just like walks over to like a cabinet and grabs the gun. He goes, "What are you doing?" "I don't know, I'm so high," and like puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger, and the other kid's like, "No." Like that shit was real, guys. That happened.
Yeah.
It was
well, who was it? Rachel Lee Cook, you know, from She's All That, the actress that she did that This Is Your Brain on Drugs commercial like back in the 90s, and I guess she ended up doing like a new one that's actually criticizing pharmaceutical companies, I think.
Nice.
So instead of like being anti-drug, it's more like so I was like it's crazy how times have changed that way. And people are still being like there's still people out there selling propaganda that, you know, marijuana is a gateway drug.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's really weird.
I love it every time that like a comic addresses that issue. It's like a gateway to what? Cookies? Tacos? Pizza? Like, okay. Yeah.
Not feeling fucking like stressed out and chilling out. Like that sounds very, very bad for your kids. I mean, it is. I still think that kids should wait. I still think that you should wait to experiment. Yeah. I still think you should do it as an adult, but you know, that's just me.
But again, I mean, there are those strands. Was it Charlotte's Web, the really famous strand that got invented in Denver for this little girl Charlotte, who was having like massive grand mal seizures to the point where she literally could not function. I think she was like 7 or 8, and the parents moved her from New Jersey to Denver because it was legal there, and it helped her with her neurological disease. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like, treat her with that. Use it. That's all it is. It's medicine. It's not a drug. It's medicine. And that's
it's not to get it's not to get specifically to be like, oh, let's get super fucked up like you're drinking alcohol. That's so weird. That's such a weird concept that people think. It's like it's literally medicinal. Like they're using it to with patients. And I don't know if you remember, did you grow up watching Roseanne?
Oh yeah,
the sitcom. So I loved it as a kid, and there's that one episode where they get stoned and they're just being really silly, and Jackie is like in the bathtub and she's like, am I in the sink? Am I shrinking? Like it's really fucking funny. But then the next day, like at the end of the show, they have a scene where they're woken up and both Roseanne and her husband are like super hungover from like being stoned, right? So it's like even then they were showing like how bad it was for you. So like, oh yeah, let's have a funny episode, but let's not, you know, let's not share this happiness and tell people that this drug is dangerous by saying they're going to be hungover. Like it's so bizarre.
It's so stupid. Chris, yes, Bugs Bunny was in that movie. The Looney Tunes were in that All-Star movie. It's got to be available somewhere. Like I know it's available somewhere. It needs to be.
It might be on YouTube. You never know.
It should be. The International Church of Cannabis. I don't tend to pay attention to things with the word church in them because that tends to be organized and dictated. I'm not a big fan of that, but Church of Cannabis sounds great.
Same. Now I'm interested in a church for once.
I know, right?
Also, I was so mad that Bugs Bunny was in Cartoon All Stars because Bugs Bunny would totally be a stoner.
Yeah, dude, munching on all those carrots all the time. That guy was stoned off his gourd.
Yep.
No, but I do love my favorite thing about Denver. This is like the most amazing thing. I don't know how many people know about this, but my favorite dispensary in Denver is literally next door to Voodoo Donuts. And it's the smartest fucking
that's dangerous
team up I've ever seen. Literally every time I go into Denver now, I'll check into the hotel or my Airbnb, wherever, and then I instantly just drop my shit, hop in an Uber, and I go to the dispensary. I buy my drugs, and then I go next door to Voodoo and I get a dozen donuts, and then I go home and I enjoy the shit out of the rest of my day because I don't have work that night. It is the most amazing time. I love Denver. God bless Denver.
I've never been, and I always wanted to go, and now I definitely want to go.
It's great. There's literally where the Capitol building is, the steps leading up to it, there's one step that has like this gold plaque, and it says it's literally the elevation is a mile on that step. So like people get caught having sex on that thing all the time because they join the Mile High Club, technically, because they're a mile above sea level. God. It's fucking funny.
That's awesome. I can't wait. Hopefully one day soon.
Yeah, dude. It's so much fun. Denver's got some really, really good things about it too. Because it's one of those places that you can be like in the mountains in like less than an hour. And then an hour later be back in downtown, like dressed up, going to a Broadway show at the Buell. It's so great. It makes me so happy.
Wait.
All right, guys. I know we're lasting. It's 2 hours, and I know we've had longer shows, but how are you doing on time? Do you want to go soon, close up in like 20, 25 minutes?
I mean, it hasn't been wow. It's like I didn't even realize it's been 2 hours already because you're a joy to speak with. I do have to go soon. Okay. I still have to work. I fucking taxes, man.
Oh,
so annoying. Is the worst.
Well, let's do 15 more minutes. So you guys have 10 more minutes to get your shit in. Then we'll close out the show, and I'll finish with my famous last question. So if you guys have any more questions you want to do, send those Streamlabs in super fast, and we'll get to all of them. What concert do you want to go to first when life opens back up?
I mean, unrealistically, Daft Punk.
Could you imagine if you just one more show and it's like the world opening celebration? Oh man, that'd be
realistically though, probably Chemical Brothers again, or Polo and Pan, or not even just Radiohead, but like Tom York. That was such a fun, weird ass experimental dance, trippy, crazy concert. Yeah, so good.
Do you have like a designated like concert friend?
I have a couple. I have my metal buddy, Chris Lockey. He works with Critical Role. He works for them, and so he's a D&D nerd. So obviously he loves metal like I do. So so I go with him to metal, and then to EDM stuff. My friend Josh and I like just all the like, especially French EDM. Like we just eat it all up. Like we went to Chemical Brothers together, and like Asafelstein and bands like that. So yeah. Nice. Totally, like love and miss my concert buddies. We can be concert buddies at some point, though.
Hell yes, I would love to go to a concert with you. You show me. Oh my god, can we go to like the next Mexican rock band that comes through LA that like I have to listen to? Because God, I love that shit. It makes me so happy.
Hell yeah, I would love that.
Fuck yeah. What do you have a favorite venue that you've been to?
I mean, in LA, there's so many, but I would say one of the ones I miss the most are the Greek Theater, because outdoor wise, the Hollywood Bowl is great. It's just too big, and the Greek has just like not as many people, and it sounds really good if you're like closer to the stage. But also there's smaller venues that I miss, like the Regent downtown, and where they're really small, but really like smaller bands play there, and it's great. And then also there's a place called the Terragram Ballroom, and it's next to Monty Bar, and it's just like one of my favorite dive bars. So I just miss
Oh,
being at both places.
God, I completely
Yeah.
forgot that place existed. I miss the Viper Room.
Yeah, that's a
Oh
good spot.
God, I went and saw the Super Suckers there. Fuck, that was such a good show. Like
Yeah, the
literally
Viper Room, man.
any of like the dirty like Hollywood bar venues. God, I miss those. The Roxy,
Yeah, the Roxy, the Troubadour.
Troubadour.
There's a few that I definitely now
Well,
you're gonna I'm like, oh man, there's so
I know.
many good ones.
Well, the Troubadour was
La
very close.
Fonda.
Oh, the Fonda. The Troubadour was very close to getting closed for a bit there, and that like made my heart stop. Like I cried the day that the Key Club closed because I worked there
Right.
so much. Like that was my home. It was just
Yeah.
like one of the. It was like a block and a half from the Rainbow Room. So like, why wouldn't like? How do you not love going from the Bow, having pre-show drinks to going? I told this story a few weeks ago. I was at the Bow one night with some friends, and there was a massive line outside of the Key Club, and we were like, what? We were trying to figure out what was going on because like there was nothing on their website, there was nothing on the marquee, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go find out because they were my friends. So I walk over to the doorman. I'm like, hey, Brandon, what's going on? He's like, we gave each other shit, and he finally was like, oh, it's Snoop Dogg is playing like a secret show. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He's like, no, here, and like slapped a wristband on me. He's like, go ahead, go in. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? I'm like, okay. Like wandered in, listened to like 2 songs, and like walked back out. Walked over
That's
to the
awesome.
Rainbow. My friends were like, what was going on? I was like, oh, I was just watching Snoop Dogg. It's fine. They were like, what? And, like that's the magic of LA. It's just
I know. I just so many good shows everywhere all the time. I sometimes in one night where you're like,
oh, yeah.
shit, I have to pick between like Pixies and the fucking I don't know what was that one time I was like, am I gonna go see the Pixies or am I gonna go see like Liz Phair? Like I was so confused. Yeah.
What a fucking choice.
Yeah, right.
The great Jake Yacovetta sent one
Uh-oh.
in. No, it's fine. He goes, Dorina is the best. Love you, Rachel. # fuck the Patriots.
Hell yeah, Jake.
That's why he's my boy. I love Jake.
Cheers to you. Salud.
Salute. I think. Yep, that's it for me tonight. I'm so excited. I get to see Jake and a few others. At the end of the month, we're going to Orlando for a very strong supporter of the Schmodown. He and his girlfriend are getting married, so I'm very.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm like, this is the first time I get to like hug somebody that I either wasn't living with or wasn't related to in the last like year. I'm just like so excited.
I feel like every time, whenever we see any of our people, we're just gonna cry with everyone for like, after like a year of not fucking seeing anyone. It's crazy.
Bones are going to crack. I'm going to hug people so hard. Like,
I already told everybody, I'm like, I'm gonna lick you all over, at least your face.
I saw your tweet and I was like, I'll make sure I wash my face.
Thank you.
No, nobody wants day old makeup on their tongue. That's just gross. Because at this point, I don't really care.
Right?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, who's gonna see me? Who cares? My mom's gonna give me shit? No, I don't care. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. All the hugs. I feel like we're not gonna leave the house that night and we're all just gonna be like in a massive cuddle puddle on the floor with like just handing bottles back and forth. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm very excited for that. All right, guys, you have like 2 more minutes to send things in because I don't want to limit that. But what have you discovered or rediscovered a love of any like musical artist or movie during the pandemic?
Well, Frank actually had never seen the X-Files. So it's literally my favorite show growing up ever. And so I was like, we're watching at least the mythology episodes and like the really good Monster of the Week episodes. So that's been fun to just like rewatch, even though similar with Brennan, like with my husband, he hadn't seen Buffy. So I was like, we need to watch Buffy. Right. So there's just certain shows that like I loved as a teenager that I was like, just rewatching them and reloving them, those two for sure. And then music wise though, it's I guess it's not even I guess it's rediscovering, like, when you like a band that you grew up with, but like you didn't get too into them. Like uh there's certain like genres of music, I guess, that I was like a little bit snobbish to when I was a kid.
Okay.
And so, or even in Mexico, certain genres weren't popular. So, like, hey, Molly Damon, what
Great
up?
Molly Damon. I don't know if you know, but Molly Damon's been getting some shit lately for some shit that she posted years ago. We've all rallied behind her, and she is a fucking warrior. Molly, you are the best.
Molly's getting shit in the internet. That's odd.
I know,
that
right?
that happened on the internet. Yeah, Molly, remember, fuck them. Like,
Yeah.
people are very sad right now, and so they try to bring others down sometimes, but do not take it personally because you're awesome.
A boy got angry that she was drinking from a cup that said "fanboy tears."
Well, how dare you express your freedom in your photo
Yeah.
that was meant to be cute and funny, I'm sure, and that you don't clearly mean that every person is a stupid fanboy, but there's no nuance on the internet.
But thank you for proving her point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cam,
there you go.
great.
What were we
were
oh
talking
yeah.
about
So,
the-
anyways, no, yeah. So music wise, like rediscovering genres, like things like that. Like, I grew up like rap and hip hop weren't that popular growing up in Mexico in like the 80s and 90s. So I only ever heard like Puff Daddy and shit like that, right? I didn't hear a lot of the other stuff, and so my friends have made me like playlists and things like that, and to the point where like I really got into Kendrick Lamar, and like I got to see him live, and that was really cool. So it's like now just going back to like 90s hip hop that I missed. You know what I mean? So like stuff like that, or like rediscovering things like MF Doom, right? Like now that he passed, weirdly this last year. And then I guess just re-listening to my 90s shit. Like I grew up with like Liz Phair and Fiona Apple and like Bjork, right? Like all those badass chicks from the 90s, like Garbage, like that sort of nostalgia comforting music during the pandemic. Because I listened to like Radiohead and Nine Inch Nails all the time. So I'm just kind of like, I need something different.
Yeah.
Did you have any?
There's I go through stages. So like a few months ago, I was really, really heavily into readdressing my love of like 90s hip hop and rap.
Right.
And then before that, I was really into like 70s funk. Like there's
nice.
you can't be angry when you listen to funk. Like there's just you just can't. It's just so life affirming, and like like even if you're angry when you start listening to it, like you just start dancing and like it just melts away. It's so great. And then recently I've been getting back into my early 2000s pop punk wonderfulness of all of the early days that I toured on Warped Tour and all of my friends and like all of those memories. I usually do that about this time this year because like even though I haven't worked on Warped Tour in like 7 years, I still at this time of year start to have dreams about being on Warped Tour. And it's like those like pre-tour, like your brain's just programmed to like get into that habit of like, oh, I'm going back on tour. Like this is what life is going to be like again. And it's like I can't break that cycle. And it's like it's become such a wonderful welcome, like, oh, I remember that feeling. I remember being exhausted and being happy and sunburnt and not having a voice and drinking all night and then getting up at the crack of dawn and then like doing it all over again the next day. And it's every day is the worst and best day of your life. And like, there is no tomorrow. And, being invincible like that. Like that shit it's a drug. Like, it's very addicting. So it's
totally.
I miss those.
I know. Yeah. If you're listening or watching and you're in your 20s, enjoy it while it lasts.
Dude. Yeah. You don't get that energy for long.
No.
I think last week I said that I'm so incredibly jealous of the kids right now in their like late teens, early 20s, because when this ends, they're at the perfect age to just like bust out and go travel around the world and like have the energy and like the resources right now to do all of the research, to go to all these places and have it be amazing, and they can like hike Kilimanjaro because their bones aren't brittle and their hip doesn't crack when they stand up every time like both of mine do. Like they have that like young body and that young energy and that like thirst for life and experiences, and it's just I'm so jealous of that right now. But I'm also like, you go hike the mountain. I'm going to be here at the bar when you come back down. Tell me what go take pictures. Go show me what it's like.
Same. Yeah, it's like when the only few times I've seen winter and like friends are like going skiing and snowboarding, I'm like, I'm drinking spiked hot chocolate in the cabin, but you guys have fun.
Oh yeah. Now I used to be one of those people that's like, yeah, I'm gonna go snowboarding all day. Now I'm like, I'm gonna go up on the gondola with you and I'm gonna stay at the bar up there and drink some hot cocoa. Come see me every time you come back up, and then I'll ride down on the gondola back down to the ski lodge when it gets dark. And then I'll see you down there, and then we'll have dinner, and it's fine.
Exactly.
Love that. All right, guys. We are closing up here. Dorina, it has been a fucking pleasure getting to talk to you and reminisce and talk about all these wonderful, wonderful things and hear your stories. Thank you so much for coming on. But I do want to close out with my favorite question. As somebody who knows Almost Famous like I do, it's my favorite question that I get to ask people, and it is the last question that William asks in the movie. Do you have to be happy to write a love song? Do you have to be sad to write a sad song? What is it that you love about music?
Great question, Rachel. Such a good movie. Such a good movie, though. I am a golden god. That's my answer. No, I think it's because there's nothing else like it. There's nothing else as much as I love food and sex and all the wonderful pleasures that you can have and blessings that you can have as a human being on this earth. There's nothing like listening, like with your ear, to something that you can't touch and that gives you so much emotion in your body and in your soul, to the point where it almost makes you go through a transcendental sort of experience while you're appreciating this incredible piece of work that some other human created, whether it was through, divine inspiration, or whether it was through drugs or whatever the hell that incredible creator made, whether it was Mozart or Dolly Parton, whatever you're into. There's nothing like it, especially when you get to see it perform live and you get to, do it in a room full of people that are just as passionate about this piece of art, that who fucking knows why it affects them. I'm sure very differently as to why it affects you, but you're all there together for a reason. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And there's nothing like that. Music is the best drug, I think, the best and healthiest drug out there. And I think music saves lives. It certainly saved mine. And it's literally one of the things that makes me the happiest. And I feel so bad for Beethoven that he ended up going deaf. And I hope we don't end up like that, because so that's my answer. There you go. How's that?
I love it. I get a different answer every time I ask it. And that is probably the most in-depth answer I've gotten out of the 44 people I've interviewed. So thank you so much for coming on once again. Tell the kids where they can find you and what you've got coming up and how to support you and all that fun stuff.
No, thanks for having me, Rachel. It's been lovely chatting with you guys. Excuse my highness and my tiredness after the political show, but it was super fun being here with you guys. I am one of three World Girls, two other ones being Roxy Star and Steph Sabra. And we have the World Girls channel on YouTube every Wednesday and Sunday evenings. We make fools of ourselves for your entertainment. We have a wonderful community, just like Rachel here does. And then every Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific, every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, I do a political show with John Roca called Impolite Truths. And it's been really cool building a community there of all kinds of people, liberals, conservatives, leftists, etc. And where we talk about politics from a humanistic point of view, because so much fucking propaganda on all the sides, both sides, all of the sides. So hopefully you'll join us for that. And you can find me on the internet yelling about music and politics and movies, etc. At Evil Dorina and my channel Bad Bruja on YouTube. Rachel, thank you so much for having me. This was super fun.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming on. And guys, just so you know, next week I have the amazing and wonderful Vinny Mancuso. And I am assured that Conan, that beautiful, beautiful fucking ugly mug of a dog of his that I am deeply, deeply in love with, will be joining us for a little bit. I kind of require it. If you have a dog, I need to
Vinny
see it.
Love
Vinny,
that guy.
Just the best. He's just the coolest cat ever.
Yeah.
So super excited. So come back next week at 6:30 to see that. And yeah, thank you again so much for coming on, guys. Be kind to each other, wear your masks. Let's get this fucking pandemic handled so that Dorina and I can finally go to a concert together and hang out and, you know, go get all the street tacos in LA that they have to offer, because
hell yeah,
we're going to get stoned and get hungry. So fuck it. And now it's my favorite time